Hi, everybody, and good morning to DSET 2024. Give us a ping in the chat if you can hear everything and you're all good. So we're on now for our 9th edition of DSET. Fantastic. Good morning, everybody. And it's virtual only day and setup day here at the venue. It's all going on downstairs, so I'm quite glad to be upstairs and up here. We have got so much going on this year, and we're on for a record attendance. We've got a record number of exhibitors and sponsors. And the first thing I have to do is thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody for engaging throughout the whole year. Thank you for everyone that's booked. Thank you for you guys for being on and up at this time in the morning, especially if you're somewhere overseas. You're so appreciated. And we hope that you really get what you want out of the conference this week. So first of all, we do need to thank Bohemia Interactive Simulations for being our tech sponsor again this year. Without them, we wouldn't be able to put on the virtual event and the hybrid to engage with everybody overseas. And so that's really important. So thanks, Bohemia. You rock it, and we can't wait to see what you're exhibiting this week. We have got a record number of speakers. We've got 115 speakers during the week this year. And we've got 3 streams of conference, 2 of which will be broadcast live during the week. We've got our main conference stream, which is 90% military government presented. We have a seminar stream, which is specialist seminars in different areas, data analytics, interoperability. They are in person only at the show, so they're exclusive to the show. And we also have our wargaming stream, which I'm massively excited about. As lots of you know, I'm a complete wargaming geek, and a founder director of Fight Club International, and Fight Club are going to be here this week demonstrating lots of stuff on our wargaming open play day, which is tomorrow. We have got 15 finalists for the Serious Games Showcase and Challenge this year. They're all in person at the show, and you'll also have a chance to vote for the game that's the most enjoyable. It'll be our People's Choice Award. And then we have assessors coming around for the whole day on Wednesday to assess the games and judge in time for the presentation of those awards Thursday morning after the Serious Games Showcase and Panel. And that's all live online as well, so you can join in. We've got registrants and delegates from 44 countries again this year. It's amazing. And, you know, we are a world in change at the moment. Half of the world, 4 billion people, will be voting in elections this year. There's going to be a lot of change. And one of the things that we're really looking forward to supporting this year at DSET and throughout the entire year is how do we train and educate for the change that is happening now in the near term and for the future. This is all about supporting our defence, security, and the education and training of all of our armed forces, our emergency services, police, fire, medicine, and our wider security, looking at cyber and AI properly for the first time this year, and we'll be looking to expand that over the coming year. Finally, we stood up a DSET International Committee last year. We've got 78 members, half industry and academia, half military government. This has been really great for us and for the community. They've helped shape what we are going forwards. And there's 8 subcommittees to do a proper support on different areas, wargaming, serious games. But the one I'd like to focus on right now is Next Gen. The Next Gen team are all under 30, and this is our talent for the future and our talent that's available now. And we need to really support them going forwards. They have been the most proactive, the most dynamic, and the ones that have delivered to time for all of their content for this year. They've been amazing. And one of the things they asked us for was, could they have a careers day? So on Thursday, for the first time this year, in person, our exhibitors will be switching out their sales and BD and techies in return for their HR, graduate scheme people, and apprenticeship teams. And we have got a whole load of new talent coming on Thursday to engage with everybody directly at the show. And I'm genuinely super excited about that. And the younger people that have been involved are brilliant and so enthusiastic and full of energy. And we actually support and accommodate these students during the week. Part of our intern program is that any money that we get for intern sponsorship, we pay it forwards and look after them for the whole week. So if you're involved with anybody under 30, you've got people that you think could benefit from, tell them about DSET, because we're here to help and support them. Now, we are going to take a small break now. At 9:15, we'll be playing a video from Lockheed Martin. Meanwhile, please go and engage with one another. Say hi. There's networking roulette. The networking roulette is hilarious. Bit scary the first time you do it, but once you get into the flow, you'll really love it. And you'll meet random people for like 5 minutes, and you can exchange details if you want to. And if you don't want to, it doesn't matter. And you'll only get matched with people once if you do the networking roulette. So please do make the most of that feature of our platform. We've also got the expo. We've got the most number of booths we've ever had before. We've got 81 exhibitors in the platform this year, and they're all waiting to showcase all of their wonderful services, products, and knowledge. Finally, for the first time this year, we are putting on a course, analysis, modelling and simulation, and we're doing this in conjunction with Oxford Brookes University, who are now our education partner for DSET, and we are their innovation partner for their DSOBU facility up at Oxford Brookes Uni. We've sold out, we've got 20 places and they've all gone, and we're really excited about putting that on this week. They've got a virtual only day today, then 3 days in person at the show, and then finishing up with a virtual only day next week once they've processed everything from this week, because there's going to be a lot. The team and I are here for you this week. If there's anything we can do to help, you only have to ping if you're online, or come and see the info desk in the hall when you arrive, and we will do our very best to make sure that you get what you need out of the show. Have a really good time. Be kind to one another. We will support you, and we're good to go. So before I go, any comments, let me know, and then we'll go and visit Lockheed Martin at 9:15. Thanks very much, everybody. Morning, people. We're back. Okay, so we've got an announcement to make. So this year at DSET is the very first time that we have a sustainability partner on board, and that partner this year is Lockheed Martin. Now, it's quite difficult for a lot of companies to work out how to support the climate and the planet and actually engage in genuine and meaningful sustainability. At DSET, our goal is to be carbon neutral. At RINA, we already are. And Lockheed Martin shares that vision for us at DSET to be carbon neutral. So we've done a couple of things this year. First of all, we have invested in a blue carbon removal program to remove the primary and secondary carbon footprint for both Lockheed Martin and the DSET team here at RINA. This includes all flights, the prep for this, right down to looking at how many emails have been sent and what that means for the planet. So this is really important to us, and we will be doing this going forwards, and we will be hoping that other exhibitors will be taking this up with us going forwards into the next year. We have also invested in a local rewilding project here in the UK, and also we do a GIZIT, a show giveaway every year that's sponsored by somebody. Well, with Lockheed Martin this year, we've actually come up with recycled and sustainable bamboo-made charging devices, and we will be promoting green energy use through those as well. So anything we can do to support the sustainability here at DSET, we will do. If you guys have ideas about what more we can do as well, you only have to say, and we'll have a look and see if we can enact that as well. So we are now going to play a video message from Lockheed Martin ahead of their time here at DSET this year. Please stay and enjoy, and we'll catch up with you afterwards. Thanks.
Welcome to DSET. It's my privilege to introduce Alliance and the concept of a new way of winning requiring a new way of training. Welcome to DSET. It's my privilege to introduce Alliance and the concept of a new way of winning requiring a new way of training. Talking about adaptive training technologies for sharpening defence's edge in the era of persistent contest. In this era of rapid technological advancement and evolving threats, the landscape of warfare is undergoing a profound transformation. Traditional approaches to training and readiness, while effective in their time, are no longer sufficient to maintain the edge in today's dynamic environment. We find ourselves in a state of constant contest, where agility, adaptability, and innovation are not merely desirable traits, but essential prerequisites to success. Chief of Joint Operations reinforced this recently when he said, "We are conducting contiguous operations across the compete to crisis to conflict framework." Over the past few months, Alliance colleagues have been exploring how adaptive training technologies will help sharpen defence's edge in the era of persistent contest in a software-defined warfare environment. What are the benefits that will contribute to the required outcome? And what benefits will the appointment of a strategic training partner afford both the Army and Defence? The size of the regular Army has decreased by 77,000 since 1990, which means there are no longer enough soldiers available to support the training tasks that they used to. The House of Commons Defence Committee report, Ready for War, painted an honest picture of the UK Armed Forces' operational, warfighting and strategic readiness. A major challenge for delivering readiness, as most recently demonstrated by the Ukraine conflict, is adapting to the unpredictable volatility of the military geopolitical climate. In that report, the Chief of the General Staff, General Sir Patrick Sanders, was quoted as noting that tailoring a force for everything from peacekeeping operations right the way up to warfighting operations requires a level of investment in training. Indeed, it is the quality of an armed forces training regime that, beyond issues of sheer numerical strength or quality of equipment, can bring a significant advantage on the battlefield. The concept of train, fail fast, retrain represents a paradigm shift in the British Army's approach to military training. It acknowledges that failure is not only inevitable, but also invaluable in the pursuit of excellence. Instead of fearing failure, it is embraced as a catalyst for growth, as a learning opportunity and a chance to refine tactics, techniques and procedures. By adopting this mindset, the Army will cultivate a culture of curiosity and of continuous improvement, where every setback serves as a stepping stone towards greater proficiency and resilience. But embracing failure alone is not enough. This transformation must also revolutionise our training methodologies to ensure they are responsive to the evolving threats and the landscape of warfare. This is where adaptive training technologies play their part. These technologies leverage artificial intelligence, simulation, and data analytics to create realistic training environments that replicate the complexities of modern conflict. By immersing the training audience in these virtual battlefields, they can be exposed to a diverse array of scenarios, from conventional warfare to cyber threats and everything in the sub-threshold environment. Adaptive training goes beyond simulation. It encompasses a holistic approach to readiness, integrating physical, cognitive and emotional elements into the training regime. It fosters interdisciplinary collaboration and coordination across a joint, interagency, intergovernmental and multinational environment, encouraging individuals and units to work towards a common goal. When exploring the benefits and opportunities, it's imperative to recognise the transformative power of adaptive training technologies in shaping the future of military readiness. In this era, defined by persistent contest and evolving threats, the ability to adapt and innovate has never been more critical. This is why the concept of train, fail fast, retrain encapsulates a fundamental shift in the Army's approach to training, emphasising that importance of continuous learning and adaptation. Alliance has adopted an approach of understand, perform, transform to exploit these benefits. First and foremost, it prioritises the development of increased collective training competency across all operational domains. By leveraging modernised training methodologies and harnessing the power of data analytics, you can enhance levels of readiness not only within the Army, but across defence and NATO. This validation through data-backed analytics not only improves current capabilities, but also contributes to shaping future force capabilities, ensuring that the Army remain at the forefront of military excellence. Secondly, it recognises the importance of professional fulfilment during collective training and in increasing retention rates across the ranks. In an age where soldiers crave challenges that go beyond that of a video game, modernised training that embraces physical difficulty becomes paramount. By fostering organisational and cultural improvements embedded within the workforce, you cultivate a winning culture that not only boosts morale, but also contributes to the development of future force capabilities, all of which were highlighted in the Haythornthwaite report and again emphasised in the previously discussed HCDC report, Ready for War. Thirdly, efficiency in collective training management delivery is also critical to success. Through the adoption of modernised training practices and sustainable business working practices, you can streamline training processes and exploit continuous innovation. Backed by data analytics, this approach ensures that training efforts are targeted, effective and aligned with strategic objectives. The instantiation of Defence AI Centre in June of 2022 merely reinforces the importance of data and data analytics for the future. As the Armed Forces navigate the complexities of modern warfare, the new land operating concept also provides the UK industrial base with valuable insights into the future landscape of conflict. With threats becoming increasingly exposed, autonomous, fragile and observed, training must evolve to keep pace with these changes. Culturally, organisationally, doctrinally and physically, collective training must enable, support and encourage experimentation and adaptability. However, to fully realise the benefits of adaptive training technologies, collective training requires the adoption of a systems approach to training design and analysis. This means articulating training requirements at the highest level, tailoring training to the needs of the audience and integrating data collection requirements into the design process from the very beginning. By doing so, you can monitor and measure performance effectively, ensuring that training efforts are aligned with strategic objectives. The military is well accustomed to applying a systems approach to analysing and designing individual training, the DSET process. The methodology for an equivalent approach to collective training is still immature. To offer some thinking in this domain, Alliance will pose several discussion points later on in presentations during DSET. Alliance believes the benefits afforded by adaptive training technologies and a systematic approach to training design in the collective training environment are clear. By embracing modernised training practices, backed by data analytics, you can sharpen defence's edge in the era of persistent contest. Understand, perform, transform. Alliance will also propose the fundamental principles of good data, some of which are obvious, some perhaps less so, but in our view are immutable given our impending data future. This approach will help seize the opportunity to revolutionise the approach to British Army collective training, ensuring that force elements are ready to face the challenges of tomorrow. I hope you enjoy hearing from our Alliance partners, Abby Duggan and Justin McGowan, later on in the conference.
Right, that was really interesting from Chris Harrison there. I put in a little bit of a cheeky, provocative poll on whether or not we feel nationally and internationally that we're actually ready for war right now. It's often been spoken of that we're actually pre-war rather than post-war in terms of our state of readiness. So that'll be really interesting to see as we go through this week how that theme develops. Thanks to Chris Harrison and Lockheed Martin for that. If you've got any questions for them, you can pop them in the Q&A here because there'll be people online to come and answer those. You can put them in their virtual booth or you can come and visit them in person at the show from tomorrow as well. In just about 4 minutes, we've got Thales, and we'll have Andy Burkett joining us. Have we got any questions meanwhile or any comments on what was said by Chris and the team at Lockheed? Don't need to be shy, it's only me. Nope, I don't think there are any questions. Oh, there we go. Are you sharing the video? Yes, so just to let you know, all of this session this morning and throughout the whole day is recorded, and all of the content that's being shown during the week will be available after the show as well. And we're going to be keeping the platform open for a little while so that people can bob in and out. So if you miss anything, don't worry, it's all going to be here and you'll have access to all of the recordings. So yeah, Theo says, I haven't seen us fail on an exercise yet. So yeah, so I've got Abby Pierce, our COO here, by the way. She's a Navy veteran. So she's just given us a reaction to that. Abby, anything you want to put in the chat? No, she's not. She's not going to. She's also being shy. Right then. I'm going to close down for a second. Scared. She's not scared, Theo. I think you need to come and see her this week and then we'll have a chat. There's a challenge. Right. So brilliant. Thanks. We will come back in a couple of minutes and Andy Burkett will be up to talk about Thales, what they're up to, their challenges and where they're going forward. So thank you. 2 minutes and we'll be there. Got 81% saying we're not ready. 18% don't know. So that's a good answer because we don't actually really know, do we? But nobody's saying yes. Right then, I'm going to now. So Andy Burkett, if you're about and you'd like to share your audio video, that'd be great. And we will bring you in and start your session. So we're just waiting for Andy to join us. He was here earlier. He's dropped off. So
We're waiting for permission. He needs to re-ask.
Yeah. So Andy, if you can just re-ask to share your audio video, and then we will let you up on the screen. You're trying. Okay, good. I can, right. You just put ask to share audio video. It comes into our moderator panel. We can see you and we'll bring you up. Right, I've done that. It tells me I'm still waiting for permission, Abby. You're definitely not in the moderating session, Andy. If you maybe just refresh your screen and ask again, that should work. Yeah, or Abby says go out and come back in. I just do as I'm told. I'm directed from the other side of the table. Right. Okay. I mean, you've got the message from Andy. We definitely don't have you, Andy, in the moderation session. So what we'll do is we will, oh, here we go. Hang on a second. There he is. Brilliant. Andy.
Hi, thank you.
Made it. That's all right.
I did, yeah. Take that off there. And I've got to try and now share my screen.
Super. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you? Thank you.
Very good. Where are you? Where are you based?
I'm based in Salisbury, so I'm doing this from home before I drive up, because obviously we're going to set up this afternoon on site. So I'll drive up when we finish this today. Perfect.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm going to zoom off now and I'm going to hand over to you so that anything you share will then come up in full screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do at the moment, and looking for the share. Looking for the share button. Oh, come on.
So,
okay, what I may have to do is, because I'm having to, we've got problems in the setup on my work computer. I'm doing this from my iPad.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll be able to, if I change the screen to that, I don't know whether that's coming up with...
it's black at the moment.
Black at the moment, that's not good. So that...
Thanks to everyone in the gang for your patience. Sometimes this isn't always the most straightforward thing to do.
No, sadly not. So that will bring me back on, I think.
Yeah, computer moment. Cheers, Alex.
Yeah, definitely computer moment. So because I can't at the moment share my presentation, so I would have to, I think we're going to have to, at the moment I can't find a way to do that. I tested it earlier with my
everything worked well in rehearsal, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I now can't share the presentation I've got, which I want to run through the simulation systems, particularly in the land environment that Thales has.
Have you tried the share tray at the bottom?
So there is a share tray at the bottom which has got a line through it. So and it therefore doesn't come up.
No. Oh.
No, that's what I was trying to do. So I'm using.
So you know,
click.
Yes, but it's got a line through it, so you can't do it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, no, it's just.
Oh yeah, no, you just have to do that, Andy. Don't worry about the line.
Trying that. Open share menu.
That's it. Then you just select the screen that you want.
Yep, I know that's what it says on the instructions. I'm not seeing that with.
Michael's right. Michael in Netherlands says it's the one thing that bonds us all, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still not helping. So I'll try that again.
We'll edit these bits out anyway. No one will know. Only the live people will know. Right.
Yeah, so I've tried that share and then changed my screen so that I've got my presentation, but then I can see that that comes up as a black screen again.
Yeah. Do you want to just talk things through, and then what we can do is put your presentation into your booth, your virtual booth for later on, so that people can then go and see that?
Yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I wanted to do today was to talk through what the simulation capabilities that we have from Thales and how we're moving forward. So we have a long history of simulation in the both civil and defence fields, and we cover primarily in the civil field. We're now in producing helicopter simulations. We have 2 helicopter training academies, one in France and one in the US. But in the defence field, which is what we're here for this week, we cover naval, air and land systems. Now this week, not surprisingly, we're focusing on land systems training. That's my area. But in the naval area in the UK, we have ship control trainers, submarine control trainers. We obviously provide the crow's nest system training device for the Royal Navy, as well as the Merlin anti-submarine warfare training device for the Royal Navy, which goes in the rear part of the cruise simulator training down at Culdrose. On the air, in the air domain within the UK, we run the A400M Atlas training service at Rise Norton alongside the Voyager training service there as well. We have a sister multi-role tanker transport training system and simulator in Saudi Arabia as well. So on the large aircraft side, that's what we're covering off in the air domain. And we still operate a Tornado simulator for the Saudi Air Force, as well as a Hawk simulator for the Bahrain Defence Force as well. In the land domain, we have an extensive portfolio of training systems across the spectrum, from live, virtual and constructive. So starting off really in reverse order in the constructive simulation domain, although presentation runs us in the other direction, we run a command and staff trainer for the French Army and have a command and staff training capability from the full joint strategic level all the way down to company and section level. So those, I suppose, really are verging from not constructive but also into the virtual domains. For armored fighting vehicle immersive training systems, we have a very large training system in both the Netherlands and the UAE. The UAE consists of about 150 individual training systems covering their armored fighting vehicle fleet, both main battle tank and their infantry fighting vehicle. And they are developing that and moving that with our support into their new wheeled infantry combat vehicle as well. In the Netherlands, we're just in the process of pursuing the upgrade to the Netherlands fully immersive armored fighting vehicle simulation systems, again with their mechanized infantry fighting vehicle and main battle tank simulators. In that case, the Leopard 2. Moving on to the live simulation area, we run 3 very large installed live simulation training ranges, 2 in Switzerland and 1 in France, looking at simulation systems for land live training, which I suspect most people in on the webinar today will be very familiar with. So we run both personnel vehicle, indirect fire, and also infrastructure simulation systems. Both systems in France and Switzerland have the buildings that have simulated systems, smoke, sound, mouse hole and window devices that allow us to represent engagements within those.
Are these sorry to interrupt, are these full motion as well? Are these full task trainers, part task trainers?
So the land live are instrumented ranges, so large, both open area and urban areas. But in the armored fighting vehicle area, we have fully immersive full task trainers with 6-DoF motion, all the way down to desktop trainers as well. So we offer a range of devices in the areas that in the armies that we support, that cover both fully immersive, i.e. representative armored fighting vehicle crew stations, all the way through to desktop trainers that are configured to allow those to have different vehicles as well as operate in different structures. The full live training systems, i.e. those that we have instrumented ranges for, cover everything from personnel all the way through to all the vehicles, plus the integration of aircraft, indirect fire, and the infrastructure itself. So the buildings themselves have simulated aspects to them. So we can generate smoke, we can create, I suppose in inverted commas, we can create holes from mouse hole charges, as well as damage to the buildings and to the people, for engagement by indirect fire systems. So these are very large systems. The same live training system that we use for the instrumented ranges, we also have a mobile solution for as well. We partner with another company to provide a mobile solution for the British Army in Kenya, and we provide a mobile solution using the same personnel and vehicle simulation systems for the French Army as well. And that's so we offer a full range of simulation systems. As we move forward, we're looking at changing our systems and developing blank-free engagement systems, which are being developed by all of the major players in this part of the market. We currently use the same system that most people use, using blank fire and lasers. In barracks, we have a small arms training system. We in fact have 2 different small arms training systems that are legacy and met different customer requirements. And those allow us to have both a mobile system and a setup system, so they can be fixed based for barracks, or they can move between barracks as well, using either.
Actually, with mobile systems, are you seeing much more request for those types of systems, so that they can be moved to avoid nights out of bed and things like that?
It depends a lot on the customer. So some customers are willing to invest to keep them static within a single barracks. It is obviously a lower cost solution to have a mobile system that can be moved between different locations, and that of course is from a use perspective is more efficient, because we have or the customer then has a greater utility out of the system. However, it comes with a logistic burden. Either the customer or a contractor then has to move and set up the system depending on where you want to do it. So it depends a lot on the customer requirements, how they wish to invest, whether there's a high utilization from an in-barracks fixed system, or they wish to use a mobile system or transportable system, perhaps would be a better way of putting it, that can be moved between barracks as required. Yeah,
no, I think going forward, it'd be good to hear from the wider community about what they think of mobile versus static systems and everything else. Andy, I'm sorry about your little the tech issue at the beginning, but to the team, Andy will be directed on how to put his presentation into the Thales virtual booth, so that you can access it there. Also, Andy, you're going to be coming down later today, aren't you? Ready for tomorrow?
Yep. I'll be setting up this afternoon, and we'll be there. I'll be there. Well, unfortunately, I may be away tomorrow on another task, but Rob McConaughey, my colleague, will be on the booth tomorrow, and I'll be there on Wednesday.
Okay, cool. And also, don't forget, you can contact Andy directly through this platform as well. So if you need to DM him directly, just go and click on his name, and you can send him a message in here as well. So please feel free to do that.
Yep.
We're now going to thank you very much, Andy,
And
I'm
thank you.
catching up later on today.
Yeah, Amar's just messaged. Thank you, Amar. We'll have a chat, do visitors on the booth tomorrow, and we can go through the small arms system in more detail.
Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you very much, and I'll see you later. And now I'll ask you to leave, and then I'll be bringing up RINA. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
I'll see if it'll let me leave now.
Yeah, you're here forever. Right then, we're now going to ask David from RINA if you'd like to share your audio and video, please, and I can bring you in. And we're going to hear about RINA before we then take a coffee break at 10. So we're really nice to you guys. It's in little bits all day, so you can potter in, set your meetings up, go and grab yourself a brew. And yeah, so let's, David Laver, are you there? Could you please share your audio video? Here he is. Right. I'll bring David in. David, hi. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. This is Liverpool calling. How are you? I'm very well, thank you.
Look at this. Smooth, just like glass.
I was a bit concerned because, yeah, typically those kind of things can affect me too. So
You're getting kudos in the chat, right?
Well, I'll try my best. That's what I clicked the button. Look at me. Good morning.
And how is Liverpool this morning?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, we've got blue skies. It's, I mean, it's a bit, crazy recently over the last couple of days, but at the moment we've got blue skies, so I'll take it. But I'm very much a pale-skinned, North European descent. I tend to hide in the shade, but for others, it's a very nice sunny day for them to get.
Yeah, underneath this, I'm whiter than Casper. All right then. So what are you going to be talking about this morning?
I'm just going to give a brief overview about RINA UK. So I'm not a practitioner, so I'm a senior business development manager. So my idea was really to drum up a little bit of interest in the company and really drive people to connect to our practitioners who are joining the virtual booth and my colleagues who are actually at the show as well. So just a very brief run through. It was 11 minutes when I did the practice, and anybody that's ever met me knows that probably means this will take 18. I'm only joking. I'll stay well within my slots, but just an overview of the business.
You're all good because you're running into the coffee break. So
okay, well, I'll keep it quick in that case.
No, it's fine. Right then, David, I'm going to zoom off unless you want me here. Do you want to check? Are you going to share anything first?
I'm just going to try to share my screen if it lets me.
So let's do that. Otherwise, we can have a chat as well. You can tell me all about it. No, there we go.
Wonderful.
That is really great. Well, I'm going to zoom off and it's all yours, David.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. I am just going to start my timer so I know how long I'm taking so I don't overrun. But yes, as I've just said, I'm here to give a brief overview of RINA UK. So this is a broad-based slide deck. And there may be, we are a requirements-based organisation. So we typically get involved with people through the defence supply chain when there is a requirement for our services, be that in training or in other parts of our requirements. So yeah, please come and see us at the stand. We're on stand F3 at the show. I'll be on the booth, on the virtual booth with other colleagues as well. If you're not a helicopter pilot, don't be put off by my opening slide, please. So we are across all different services. It was just a nice picture I used. We are Just Car registered. We are used to dealing in the defence space, so it's our bread and butter on what we do. So I will move quickly through this, through the slideshow. So yeah, as I've said, I'm a senior business development manager. I've been in the defence business in the UK for more years than I'd like to count up at the moment. But I joined RINA about a year ago this week, actually. So we are a service provider into the defence supply chain in the UK. So I'll be on the virtual booth. I'll be joined by Tim Cliff. As it says on the slide, he's an instructional design lead within our media solutions business. And then Lauren Ramsey, who's within our training and learning solutions team. So please interact with them. They are practitioners. They know their trade. They can absolutely answer some detailed questions that you might have. And as I say, we are a requirements-based organisation. I should also forgive me. I've been suffering a little bit from a bit of a man cold over the weekend. So if my voice sounds a bit clipped, that's why. But I'll push on through. Actually, in person, there are several of my colleagues too. So Mike Pickering and Mike Zachariah, both from the business development team. Mike Pickering is head of strategic accounts. Mike Zachariah is my colleague, who's a senior business development manager. And then we have Sarah Smith from our marketing team and Anna Kolosenko from our program management team as well. So we've got a good, across the virtual booth and in person, a good number of people supporting. As I say, please, we're all well versed, we're all well linked to each other, so we can absolutely bring you into the organisation and hopefully grab some requirements and start a conversation from there. I won't read out the whole slide, but we were founded in 1861 as a company, starting off as a naval registration company. So that's our Italian arm. So we are headquartered in Genoa in northern Italy. And through a period of time up until 2018 on the slide here, we have grown into adjacent fields, including training and simulation, through acquisition of different companies, and the major companies are listed on the slide, although there are a list of others that sit behind that. So we are RINA UK are based in Leatherhead, but our headquarters are in Italy, in Genoa. From a glance, from a top level point of view, from the whole organisation, the international organisation, we're about 5,500 people. We're nearly 800 million euro turnover now, and we are divided into the 6 segments that you see on the slide. Now, where I sit and all of my colleagues who joined DSET sit, we're in the industry portion in the top right of the slide in the aerospace and defence team. So, they are the companies and the routes to market that we go to in the UK. Through DNS, through other Crown agencies, and through the supply chain, be that primes, tier 1s, tier 2s, etc. So although we have colleagues who come in from a cross-functional basis from those other 5 areas of the business, we are the industry segment. And as you can see, we are an international company, many hundreds of offices around the world. But we are focused, in our efforts in the defence supply chain. We are very much a UK company. And if I bring that up on the next slide, that really puts that into graphical perspective. So we are at 9 different locations up and down the UK. We are quite distributed, so where GSC allows you to do so, and where you can deliver from a hybrid or remote location. We have a number of people that are remotely based, but we do have bases in those 9 locations. Industry and space and defence are predominantly in Leatherhead, Chippenham and Lincoln. Leatherhead is our headquarters and also our FSC site. Chippenham is the BCC. We are part of that centre, which obviously has a lot of supply chain partners from UK MOD on site. And Lincoln has really grown from the fact that we engage and attract some service leavers, and there was a number of those service leavers based in the Lincolnshire area, so that was worth us standing up an office in that facility, in that location rather. So we have an office there as well. I won't go through all of the others, but again, varying locations based on where our customer bases are. Even though in this wonderful technological age you can deliver remotely, and we do have distributed staff. Often you are required to be on site for at least a number of times, so we do stand up locations where that is required to be the case, and all of those different areas, power systems, inspection, etc. We do put a location where our customers require us to be. Overall, bottom of the slide is a key metric: 400,000 hours of space and defence projects in 2022. So it's really a big part of what we do, and we are well versed in dealing with defence companies and in the defence construct within the UK. Okay, as I mentioned at the outset, this is really a top level run through the main portions of our business. Please interact with us after this presentation. This was just a quick run through to stick to time, but if you have any areas here that you would like to discuss in more detail with us, my colleagues are available at the show, and we are available through the virtual booth as well. So integrated logistics product support. We typically have entry points with customers in the UK where maybe they've downsized their organisation, maybe they don't wish to have their own teams in that area to keep their offerings lean, to keep their overheads low, and that can be, and across all of these areas actually, that can be putting a person in a seat at a location, or it can be working to a statement of work, so something a bit more defined. But the ILS portion of our work, looking at whole life cost through life availability, and really bolting on that support to a customer's product offering. Customers obviously want to focus on the product that they're bringing to market, and we then apply that support element to it. From a safety and environmental management point of view, again, I won't read through the slide, but from safety cases, but up to legislative compliance, and also making sure that we support customers that they meet the specific regulation and certification requirements into defence in the UK. And we support many different organisations in that field. Electromagnetic capability, EMC, is based out of our Leatherhead site. So we have a number of very good consultancy services based there, and one of the key ones is a mobile high intensity frequency deployable testing regime, which we can take to different sites. So if we need to do an EMC check on a platform, on an aircraft, for example, then that HERF mobile cell and the required personnel can be deployed to do that work, then feed the testing back into the customer, and then it might be they need to do some work on the platform from that point. On to the next slide. Conscious I've taken 8 minutes already. Training, learning, and digital media. I mean, for the sake of this presentation, again, it's one of our verticals. Please do interact with my colleagues. They'll be able to talk in a bit more detail, but it's a big part of what we do. We look across all parts of the training spectrum. A lot of the things that the previous presenters have already mentioned. So be that support in person, be that support in simulators, and we're fully DSET compliant, so we know exactly what that means. I've read a good portion of those requirement documents, but my colleagues who are in the delivery have read all of them, and they know it very, very well. So yeah, absolutely, training, learning, and digital media, big part of what we do. Again, insertion points typically are through the supply chain, and supporting either prime contractors or through the tiers, and bolting on that training aspect of their offering into their customers. MTI are our labs in Leatherhead, so a lot of analytical labs looking at material analysis, failure analysis, that kind of thing, and that again has come from the history of the company. Mission Systems is a part of the Italian organisation that we're looking to bring into the UK, and that's specifically to do with software verification and validation, to do with uncrewed systems. And obviously that's a big part of the landscape that we're operating in now, is uncrewed systems being used quite a bit. So glancing at my clock, and that's 9 minutes. Again, digital media, please discuss with my colleagues, but we're across all different areas of classroom media, film presentation, e-learning, virtual tours and film. And obviously this is kind of a modular offering. So, there are some customers that we find have an area that they wish to outsource, but they may wish to keep all the parts inside. So this is by no means saying that we have to deliver all of these areas. We'll go and talk to a customer, see where they need our support, and we'll kind of slot in and dovetail with what they ordinarily do. What we don't get involved in is the delivery. So typically that's our exit point, that we will define and design all the media so it's ready to be presented, but we will kind of exit at that point. And typically our customer has ways which they already are going to present it. So at that point is where we tend to segue out. Okay, I don't think I'll talk through these final slides again. If you have any requirements in the areas of reliability of materials, please do talk to my colleagues, and again, they can point you in the direction of our specialists in those areas, but it's all to do with the highlight on the slide. So failure investigation, materials component selection, and advanced materials analysis. And again, regulatory compliance, a huge area of business that we work in through chemicals, product technical conformity, and responsible sourcing as well. Obviously conducting due diligence to make sure that that things are coming from where a buyer thinks they are coming from, so they can certify that what they're getting is true to the paperwork they're being offered. And I think that was a very quick canter through, but I'm going to say thank you for your attention. Thank you for bearing with my voice. That's a lovely photograph of our Leatherhead facility, which is our headquarters. would be more than happy to open up and to carry on a conversation over the virtual booth over the next couple of days with my colleagues. I'll be dropping in and out of that virtual booth too. My email address is on the slide, and yeah, I'd be delighted to have a more detailed conversation of any requirements you have in those areas.
Brilliant. Thank you, David. I know that was super fast through, but like David said, if you need any more information, you can go into their virtual booth from now, and there's more information there. Obviously, their website. We now have the full event guide for DSET is now, and you can find out more information about each company in there. You can download that directly off the DSET website now as a PDF to take away, especially if you're virtual, so you can have that next to you. Along with the whole event program. But if you want to directly DM David, because you know he's on the platform, you can just click on his name and DM him here as well. So that might be the fastest way, David, mightn't it? Rather than
absolutely
doing your, I mean, I hate my inbox at the moment. If anybody emails me in the next couple of days, I'm sanctioning them. I reckon.
Forgive me if that was a bit too quick, by the way. I was just conscious we were running up near 10 o'clock and I didn't want to push.
No, that's absolutely fine. You know, we're very chilled here on virtual day, so it's all good. All the chaos is happening downstairs out of line of sight.
Absolutely. Can't hear it either. It's the old swan analogy is definitely working today.
Yeah. And if anybody wants a poll on anything to ask, you know, DM me on the platform or DM Abby, and we can set those polls up to ask those questions to help inform us all going forwards. All right. So, David, thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you soon and your colleagues, and I hope this gets better soon.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciated.
All right. Enjoy Liverpool. It's one of my favourite cities.
Oh, God bless you. I knew we were getting on.
Yeah. All right. We'll catch up and see you soon.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Gang, we are now heading into proper coffee break, and we will be coming back here at 10:30 with Skyral, who are silver exhibitors. They've also been our media brunch sponsors this year, so looking forward to hearing from them. So thanks, everybody, and we will see you at 10:30. Prizes, let's go. So every year we do a prize for the most engaged person or people in this platform. So if you are engaged, you're going to visit booths, you're in forums, you're making comments, there are prizes at the end of the week, and we've got some Galaxy tablets to give away, not the chocolate. Oh no, Abby's really sad now. I'll get you some Galaxy chocolate apps. And we will be posting those to wherever you are in the world. And also we'll have some stuff going on as well this week at DSET, because we like to reward people for being engaged and also for making our exhibitors feel super welcome. We have got lots of awards and prizes to give away during the week as well, and they are all surprises. So at the end of various sessions during the main conference this week, we will be giving out awards to very deserving people who don't know it yet. So that's really exciting. So we're now going to welcome Skyral to the stage. So Billy, if you're available, could you please share your audio video, and I will bring you up onto the stage. Alex, you'd like the chocolate as well? Well, we do have chocolate. We also have really random things as well, random giveaways this week. Right. We're just waiting for Billy from Skyral. If you could have a giveaway, what would you like most in the whole world? Obviously not a house. We haven't got that kind of funding yet, have we? Right, here's Billy.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, Billy, you're fine. You're live. How are you this morning? Where are you?
I'm in South London. Tooting.
South London, right? So we're traveling around the UK this morning, so this is nice. And are you going to be sharing a presentation with us?
Yeah. Let me just pull up my screen.
Right, flight ticket to the UK from Amar. Where are you, Amar? In Brunei. Wow. First time here in Bristol. Fantastic. Wonderful. Now, just a reminder that Skyral were our media sponsor this year. I'm really, really grateful to you. And we hope you had a good day at the media brunch. And we had Naomi there, Billy.
Oh, yeah.
So that all went super well. So I'm going to hand over to you now, and I'll come in at the end and wrap up with any questions. If anyone's got any questions for Skyral, drop them in the chat, in the Q&A, or into their booth. All right, thanks, and I'll see you soon.
Great, thanks, Tess. So I know we're going to be talking through some of the use cases that we've got at Skyral, but just to also call out that some of my colleagues are going to be at DSET over the next couple of days. My colleague Luke's going to be presenting on Wednesday, a couple of us as well. So keep your eyes involved for that, especially when you've got more questions. Please feel free to go and ask them, ask some more questions about it. So the next kind of 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to be talking a bit more about the use of strategic digital twins, for dual use capabilities. Now, I'm not going to go down sometimes the rabbit hole of defining the digital twin landscape, but the key thing that I want to make sure that people are aware is that the thing that Skyral brings to the mix is through the use of modeling and simulation capabilities. And this is not solely focused on defense. It's capabilities that we're working with in terms of government, defense, and also in the enterprise space. So we've been around for just around about a decade. We were previously known as Improbable Defense, and then towards the end of last year, we spun out and became our own entity. So we left Improbable and became Skyral. So some people might be aware of Improbable Defense, but we're now known as Skyral. Over the past decade, our kind of mission has been to take, it's taking the approach that right now data is not good enough. We can't make the really complex and sometimes exceptionally critical decisions based on just the state of how data was in the past. We need to start to simulate what the future could involve. As we are all pretty aware that the world becomes ever more connected, ever more complex, and we need to make sure that we have the right information at the fingertips of people to make these decisions, but not just understanding the state of what is, but it's really asked the question. The real key questions now is what if. And so where Skyral comes into the mix is that we are the kind of modeling and simulation experts to then start to provide those what if questions and running at scale. And that's where the kind of heritage from working with Improbable, a games metaverse company, leveraging that technology to then actually start to kind of run simulations at the required scale. So a very quick snapshot of some of the examples of the use cases and solutions that we've been providing, not just across MOD, but across other government departments and also in the enterprise space. So we kind of span from looking at operational decision support tool, and that's understanding and kind of using modeling simulation to test certain instances of what happens when you want to start to carry out strategic plans, all the way to network modeling. So this is a use case which I'm going to talk about in a second, but this can actually span across defense. And as we have quite easily found out that there are a lot of common opportunities, not just faced in the defense side, but also enterprise. There's some very common threaded decision points and also problems that people want to understand. Skyral is not just focused on modeling and simulating the infrastructure side. We're experts in simulating and modeling the human side. So we kind of take a multi-domain approach where we want to understand and allow our users to focus on how human behaviors drives infrastructure decisions. And then on the flip side of this, how infrastructure decisions will impact and affect human decisions. And that's key for us because we have a whole suite of capabilities supported for our applied scientists, which brings in that key human behavior to it as well. So a couple of snapshots here. We kind of span from networks. We kind of back in the early days of COVID, we supported government with their modeling and rollout for this. We also work with government to understand the rollout of government policies. And so looking at the delta between the supply and demand between renewable energies, what the kind of the next steps might be to say, well, if we've got a gap between our supply, well then where should the demand also start to be play as well? And that's where the kind of the balance between the simulation and modeling comes into place. We've also been working closely with understanding the pattern of life of a one-to-one representation of a 1.3 million person country, and better understanding what their pattern of life is over and in real time for people going to work, going to education, and then allowing that to inform decisions about what happens when certain scenarios in that country play out. So these are just a wide range of solutions that we've got. I kind of talked at the very start about the role of digital twins. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but our expertise doesn't just span in one state. We have experience working across the whole ecosystem of it. And what we do is we take an approach where there is lots of models out there. We want to leverage and make sure those models that exist can come into our capabilities. We are supported by a platform, so a toolkit allowing us to bring in a wide range of models into an ecosystem to really drive those key questions. We're not going to be the people that always develop those models. We sometimes have to, and because sometimes they don't exist, but we leverage other people's models to make sure that people get the information and the value at the fingertips straight away. So this is a use case here. So over the past 4 years, we've been working with MOD, and we're supporting part of the NGCM program, which is the Next Generation Communications program. For those that may or may not be aware, and I'm probably sure people are aware, MOD has a huge ecosystem of networks that they are heavily reliant on. And the key thing here is that they sometimes own some of these networks and sometimes they are leased to them. And we engaged with MOD about 4 years ago, where it was understanding the kind of what the next steps for the NGCM program is by transitioning from their 2 large fixed connectivity networks and to build a brand new future-proof network. Back in 2015, there was a similar approach, but unfortunately, it went from having 1 fixed connecting network, and the migration transition didn't, according to plan, so it now ended up with 2. And so what we bring to the table now is running at scale, kind of sitting in the middle to provide that platform to allow you to bring in the models, to bring in all your data sets, and then to start to ask those what-if questions. And those what-if questions could span a case. What happens on an operational side when you want to perform outage management, so change management. But then also on the other side of this is the strategic lens for it to say, well, how do I start to migrate my network from one area to the other? So it was a multi-year program, work with the NGCM program and MOD. This was off the back of a couple of 6-week pilots with them. And what we were able to do very quickly was to showcase their network as is and run some high-level simulations to really get that art of possible and see things progressing. So I'll get into the demo now. What I just want to very quickly call out is that you're not going to be seeing MOD's real network. It is of a synthetic network, and that's because all the network data sets were hosted at secret on MOD's infrastructure, but just always have to call that out. So what we have here is a general overview as the current state of 2 large fixed connecting networks coming into place. So we've got the overall network topology, and this is driven by lots of configuration files, asset files, routing tables. There's a whole plethora of information coming into this. And we're going from a site level down to a router level, and where we're actually looking at the utilization on each of these connections. So avoiding the dependence on heuristics and on some knowledgeable people, we're actually driving this information to have it in the fingertips of people. So we've got the ability to very quickly drill down into key parts of the network. So what you're seeing here is the overall utilization on that network, and we're color coding this. So the color code is pretty straightforward. Dark purple means that these connections are lowly or underutilized, up to the yellow, which means that these connections are already over capacity or on the brink of being over capacity. We can quickly drill into key information about this, so understanding where in the network there are contentions. So again, getting over continuous snapshots of time of this data, you identify where the pinch points in the network are to then start to think the questions in the future. So we've got a really key way of actually drilling down into key parts of the network. The one thing I always talk about here is that resiliency is everything's resilient until it's not. And so what this is doing here is actually inferring a lot of the physical resiliency of the sites, and then you're actually able to see if these sites are resilient or not. So we can go from a much more strategic view, so the overall network landscape, and then we can also start to drill down into a much more localized view. So I can go down here and actually see what's going on at my individual router. So for an individual site, let's drill down. There we go. So we've got now down to the router level. So we're not just focusing on what's going on across the WAN, but also starting to think about what's going on within the site. And this here is kind of bring all this data together to have that single source of truth. Again, why I'm just running it here is that lots of data, lots of information, lots of tools are coming in to build a single source of truth. However, what we want to always do is ensure that we're not just focusing on what's going on right now. We want to be focusing on the state of what if. And so this here is where I can start to run through these different vignettes. Well, what I'm showing you here is our kind of digital laboratory. And this digital laboratory is the place where we start to ask those complex questions as to what my network might look like in the future. So we've got these different vignettes, and these vignettes are exploring the rollout of different change to the network. So what happens when I change your overall traffic demand at certain sites or across the network? Really critical for defense. So in a time of war, it might be that critical services, which we've got in the digital twin, if you increase their change, how does the network respond to that? But also in the enterprise side, what happens when people start to use AKTVs? Where are going to be the points where the network starts to fall over? Second of all is the kind of the rollout of migration. So migration here is all about focusing on how do you take from one part of the network to another and migrating it over across. What's happened to the kind of the new technologies? So what happens when we start to migrate traffic to the internet, and then seeing how that can be rolled out in terms of actually reducing capex on the network because we're no longer relying on physical bearers. And then lastly, this is the operational side, which is the role of outages. How do you roll out outages and actually support the better awareness as to what's going on? So I've got a couple of different examples here, and I'm just going to showcase one. So this is a simulation which I've built in the past, but it's just to kind of demonstrate the different nuances that we've got for it. So instead of just having one single simulation that we're applying across the network, we can multi-layer it. So here I've actually said, I'm going to increase the overall traffic at certain sites. These might be critical sites to mod, or might be critical areas to an enterprise telcos company. And I've increased the traffic by 20%. Then networks are dynamic. They're continually changing. There needs to be change management. So what happens when certain sites go down? And then also, again, networks are dynamic. You need to start to migrate things. Things won't just stop because you want to go and turn something off. They can continually dynamically change. So these are kind of the different scenarios we played on the network. And what we have here is a full list of all the different, well, all the connections within the network. And we're seeing the change in utilization. So here, for example, I can identify, I can drill down, but I might just choose this one. We can actually go and drill down as to where these certain parts of the network are, and we can start to look at that capability. So it's all well and good of having a overall view as to what's going on with my network at certain as a much more holistic view, but how does it respond over time? And this is where the simulation really comes into key, because you might be fine with and have a tolerance. Actually, I'm fine with the network to be around about 30% utilized, but it's when those peaks and in that busy period, so Tuesday at 10 o'clock, when everyone starts to switch the laptop on, how does my network respond to these type of events? And this is where the rollout of simulation comes into play, because we're not just focusing this on at a localized view, we can do it at a much more strategic view. And again, this kind of couples quite nicely to all the enterprise work that we're doing, because there's lots of questions that are being used across in that space that mod could definitely benefit with. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of give a clear picture as to all the different capabilities or some of the capabilities that we've got with the terms of the network digital twin. I'm more than happy to kind of go into detail at a later date, but also to remind people that we've got representatives from Skyral that are going to be at DSET for the next couple of days as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Billy. I know it's short and sweet, but it's just to give people a snapshot of everything and to keep the day nice and pacey. I'd like to know in future as well, in slower time, what your thoughts are about what current challenges the customer's facing and what you're going to be doing to actually help address that. Hopefully we'll be able to engage with you guys this week.
Yeah, definitely.
And just to remind people, Skyral will be, please go in there and ask anything else, like any further demonstration. which will be with us in person in Bristol this week. And also you can DM Billy directly on the platform as well. So Billy, thank you very much for your time, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Right, thank you. I'll stop sharing.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, next we have got Antycip, STE Antycip coming, and we've got Pete Swan from there. And I don't know whether Pete's actually flown over from the US yet, or if he's just got off the red eye. So let's go and bring him in and find out.
All right. Good morning.
Morning, Pete. Are you? Is it 4 o'clock in the morning, or are you in the UK now?
No, I'm actually in Ipswich. Suffolk.
Ipswich, right? Shout out to Ipswich,
Massachusetts.
Brilliant.
As soon as I'm done here, I'll be driving over to Bristol to man the booth.
Brilliant.
With STE Engineering Antycip. I'm actually with Mark Technologies, but STE Engineering is a sister company, and they represent Mark in Europe and provide local engineering support.
Well, thanks for your time this morning. And now, are you going to be presenting and sharing as well?
Yep, I am.
Super stuff. So just wait for you to do that. Wonderful. This looks great. Okay, Pete, I'm going to zoom off and I'm going to hand over to you now. Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Seth. So Mark Technologies has been in the modeling and simulation business for more than 30 years, based in Massachusetts, United States. And we have been a vendor of modeling and simulation toolkits that allow our customers to create the simulations that they need, whether for concept development, experimentation and research, system design and test, or for training systems that either standalone or embedded in the operational systems that they might be delivering to their customers around the world. We have a common suite of products that are modular and can be purchased individually, but are based on a set of common components. And you can see the products here. VR Forces is really our flagship product. It provides constructive simulation, scenario development, and computer-generated forces applications to run standalone for decision-making, training, and research, or to drive virtual and constructive simulation for training purposes. VR Engage is our virtual simulation capability that could be used as a roll-top desktop role player, as a student position, and can be integrated with hardware to make a more realistic simulation capability. And that is all driven by VR Vantage, which is our visualization engine, which provides everything from tactical displays to image generation capability, loading terrain from our terrain server VR the World. And then our expertise for the last 30 odd years has been in networking simulators together. So we provide a suite of tools, including VR Link, that allows you to network simulations together over local and wide area networks using the DIS and HLA standards. So why Mark 1? I could spend the whole time on this one slide, but very much scalable in multiple directions. We can model the entire world down to the inside of a building. We can model an operational environment from division level down to individual soldier level. We can have large numbers of players interacting together in a common environment and have very large scenarios with the computer-generated players interacting in that scenario too. So one key discriminator with VR Forces, our simulation engine, is that it can run in either aggregate level mode for higher level command staff training, or down at the entity level mode for company and below type training. It's deployable, so you choose how you want to deploy it. Could be on a laptop, could be on virtual machines, could be in a public or private cloud environment or over a wide area network. So a very flexible system that can be easily modified, whether you're a user creating the scenarios, a modeler adding new content to the scenarios, or a developer creating C++ plugins or writing scripts for the simulation environment. Wherever possible, we use open standards for interoperability and terrain. And so everything we do is DIS and HLA, and we fully support the NATO Education and Training Network FOM, the NetEnt FOM, for interoperability, even between our own products and components of those products. So some of the applications, kind of from left to right, Mark One Suite. Excuse me, losing my voice there. The Mark One Suite is a multi-domain application that is truly multi-domain. It's been used for flight simulation capability, for maritime simulation, both surface and subsurface, and for ground-based training, as well as for command and staff training applications. So a couple of examples, the Land Simulation Core 2.0 program in Australia is the Australian Army's collective training program, networking together their simulators for their different platforms and weapon systems into a common environment and providing desktop training and constructive simulation training capability. They chose the Mark One suite of products as the basis for that. So it will be providing the desktop training, the constructive simulation for command and staff training, and the suite of toolkits that will be used by the systems integrators who will be building the simulation systems for the different platforms. That has gone through acceptance, initial operation capability, and is being deployed out to the field right now. Second program is in the UK for the RAF. That is the Gladiator program. That is networking together the various training capabilities for the Royal Air Force and for their different aircrafts and platforms into a common environment. Boeing Defence UK is primed for that, and Mark provided the Mark One suite of tools as a common constructive simulation capability, a common role player station so that the White Force and RAF Waddington can fill in as necessary if the large simulators aren't available, and a common IG platform for the visualization and after action review. So that system has gone through initial operating capability. We're going through the next phase of enhancement, and it is being used in earnest for training right now. So one of the core bases of a common synthetic environment is the terrain. Mark can load in open source data such as OpenStreetMaps to provide very complex urban environments, and being able to create those environments from OpenStreetMap data and similar sources by procedurally generating the road networks, the buildings, and so forth. There was a question of whether we're using VBS. No, this is all Mark's own software that we have developed in-house over the last 20 to 30 years, and it is basically all our own software that we develop, but because we use open standards, we can certainly interoperate with other products as necessary. So as well as urban environments, we can create complex biomes where we are using elevation data, imagery, and land use data, and then information input by the user on what kind of vegetation there is in that particular region of the world, how hard the ground is to determine the the ground cover, and the moisture content to determine how green it's going to be and how much vegetation there will be in that system. So again, we procedurally generate that terrain. And the terrain is not just static, it is dynamic terrain. So you can blow it up and create craters, you can destroy buildings, you can dig trenches and so forth within that environment as well. On top of that, we then add weather conditions. So we model time of day and moon phase, sun position, stars, anywhere in the world, and then provide both global and localized weather conditions for that system. Those not only affect the visualization, but they'll affect the performance of the platforms, the weapon systems, and the sensors. Everything we do is EAR 99 in the United States, which means it's not ITAR controlled, so we don't need export permits to deliver it around the world. It does mean that the data within our software is Wikipedia type data. We allow you to add your own data. If you have classified data, you can certainly put that in there. And we also allow you to model emerging and future weapon systems. So you're not just modeling the past or the present, you can model the future to be able to do wargaming experiments to look at the impacts of future threats, future capabilities on your ability to fight the battle. We allow you to plan out the simulation in the same way you'd actually plan your mission by creating phases with different activity within those phases and moving from one phase to the next based on time or based on triggers within the simulation environment. And the missions and tasks are specified through complex behaviors using the Lua scripting language. And our behaviors are focused on the unit level. So we have behaviors on how a company will go and perform a mission, such as breaching a minefield, and how the various supporting roles will be performed within that activity. Not only can you specify all the military activity, you have all of the civilian and background activity. We can have crowds, traffic, pedestrians on the ground. We can provide civilian air traffic using ADS-B data, civilian shipping using AIS data, satellites using TLE data, and all of these can interact in the simulation. So for instance, satellites can have sensors on them, communications nodes, so that they can provide situational awareness to commanders on the ground who would then make decisions either manually or this would be done automatically through the system. For the users, we have an intuitive exercise control and manipulation. For example, the White Force at RAF Waddington said we need quick control of aircraft and multiple aircraft at the same time. So we rapidly created that panel you see on the left there for them to be able to use their mouse to control an aircraft. And they can have multiple displays up at the same time to be able to control multiple aircraft. But if they just wanted to have a kind of leave and forget or fire and forget type concept, we can do very complex tasks, such as performing close air support missions, and do that using Lua scripted tasks that the modelers can create. So if that's not good enough, then they can actually role play different roles by using VR Engage, which is our role player station, where they could play the role of a dismounted soldier, crew member of a light armored vehicle, a pilot of a fixed wing or rotary wing aircraft, or a sensor operator or drone operator within that system. Provides a game-like interface that allows them to actually take control over the computer-generated entities and manage them and then put them back onto automated control afterwards. So we talked about VR Vantage as our visualization engine. It provides the tactical map views for VR forces. It provides immersive views in VR Engage, It can be a separate image generator, multi-channel image generator, but it also provides a EOIR sensor capability and gimbal sensor model. We have a fairly basic model built into VR Vantage, but we also have a plugin called Sensor Effects that provides a full physics-based EOIR simulation, and also we provide a capability for SAR and ISAR as well. So went through that pretty quickly, bit of a kind of fire hose there, but hopefully that gave you an idea of the capabilities of the Mark 1 suite of software. Feel free to come by if you're going to be at DSET, be on the STE Engineering Antycip booth, or go see more about us at mark.com.
Oh, yeah. Pete, thank you so much. There's so much in there that you've covered. You guys do so much around the world in so many areas. And, thanks for highlighting as well, in particular, the standards and interoperability. Obviously, that's really important going forwards, and talks to Amar's point and what your answer was, that you can interoperate with anybody using HLA and DIS. Now, you've got several other questions in the Q&A chat, which you can then go and answer if you could. We'd be really grateful. Okay. But if people can't get a hold of Pete, he will be on DM. He's traveling down to Bristol today, so you can DM him through the platform. But like Pete said as well, you can ask questions into the virtual booth or come and visit them in person in Bristol. Pete, thank you so much. Can't wait to see you this side of the pond tomorrow. Well, later today, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll see you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Right.
So we're running a few minutes behind, but not a huge drama. Now we are going to move now to SimCentric. SimCentric have been long-time supporters of DSET. They've been fantastic. They've been here since edition 1. And to give you an idea of how the size of our show has changed, this year we've got 127 speakers. The first edition of DSET, we had 99 people, and now we're welcoming over 1,500 visitors. So, things have definitely moved on, and so SimCentric. And so actually, Simon Leng, if you're there, if you could share your audio and video, please.
He was there.
He was there. Abby said you were there.
I clicked approve, and he disappeared.
Simon, you've disappeared, love. Could you please come back and reshare again? Come back. We want you back. Theo, Bruce, Alex, and Amar, thank you very much for your questions. Here's Simon.
Hey.
There he is. Simon, where are you this morning?
I am in, let's have a look, overcast Wootton Bassett.
Oh, overcast Wootton Bassett. God, the glamour. Oh, it is gorgeous. So, like I said, SimCentric have been supporting DSET and have been a really big part of it for the last 9 years. So welcome back. We're looking forward to seeing you on the show floor later today and tomorrow.
Likewise, thank you. And we were there to participate in the very first one, and we've seen it grow and everything, Tess. It's been fantastic to be part of that, I must say.
Well, yeah, we're really chuffed. So look, I'm going to hand over to you. We're running a few minutes late. We're not going to cut you off early.
Okay.
After this, we'll go to Guy. I'm sure he'll be chill about that.
So I can see that you can see me, but
yes.
Can you see my screen?
Could you share your screen? Go to the share tray.
Share audio and video.
And then if you go right to the bottom of your screen, you can see open share menu right in the middle. There's like a little screen with a line through it.
Yeah, gotcha. Open share menu, share screen.
Yep.
Select window. Screen 2, I think.
Yep.
Yay, that looks promising. Allow.
Wow, that's
to infinity and beyond.
Love it. This is being recorded as well, isn't it, Abby? We're going to get this one.
There we go.
Right.
How
Excellent.
about that? Are we good?
No, we're not going to edit it out. That's going to be an outtake. Right. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I'm going to zoom off and I'll see you back afterwards. Thank you, Simon.
Will do. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for taking the time to listen into this presentation. My name is Simon Leng, and I'd like to take the next 10-15 minutes or so to provide an overview of SimCentric, our products, and what you'll be able to see at DSET. SimCentric is an independent software technology company, and we provide solutions either direct to armed forces or to system integrators who we hope will utilize SimCentric technology as part of their larger system. We're providing solutions really in three main areas, which I'll go through in the course of the presentation: joint fires training applications, virtual training applications, and also live fire range safety. And with the aid of some videos, I will take you through some overviews of each area. First of all, Sapphires. Sapphires is a joint fires training tool used to manage doctrinally correct forward observer, JFO, and JTAC training. Sapphires can be accredited to meet JTAC MOA and support training for Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 controls, covering everything from individual training right up to collective exercises. For artillery, naval gunfire, Sapphires supports NATO, Commonwealth, and also custom, which is country-specific doctrines, avoiding any potential for negative training. Sapphires can also be integrated with real or emulated fire control systems, including digital CAS. Sapphire's products have been used widely within NATO, coalition, and aligned countries, including US, Canada, many European countries, Germany, France, Sweden, Italy, Denmark, and others, and also out in Asia Pacific, including New Zealand and Australia. In the UK, SimCentric are a major subcontractor to Elbit Systems for the Joint Fires Synthetic Training Program. And the software that you can see in this video has been rolled out to both the Royal School of Artillery, the JTAC schoolhouses, so JFACSU, and it's also starting to be rolled out now to the individual units across the Army. Sapphires can be integrated with multiple virtual systems, including game engines such as in Unreal and Unity. And for JFST, it's been integrated with the previous DVS, so DVS1 and VBS Blue IG, both products from Bohemia. And it also supports the DVS2 and the VBS4 platform. SimCentric are also involved in virtual training, and SAFTAC and SAF Solo are virtual training applications that we deliver, which are focused primarily on Alpha and Bravo, so what was Phase 1 and Phase 2 training levels, by providing instructional support for initial training tasks, including skill at arms, navigation, along with more specialist activities such as platform recognition, and the development of TTPs, SOPs for platoon section level force-on-force training. SAFTAC is built on top of the Epic Games Unreal Engine, allowing our products really to directly leverage and utilize the huge investments made in by Epic Games in consumer games such as Fortnite. SAFTAC has been used at an enterprise level in Australia as part of recent LandSim Core program to revolutionize the delivery and utilization of simulation across all levels of Army training. In the UK, SAFTAC is used by both Army and RAF specifically to support the delivery of early years training, taking advantage of inbuilt instructional tools designed to speed up and automate the generation of training scenarios, minimizing the overhead of using SAFTAC for virtual training. SAF Solo can also operate standalone on VR headsets and includes data capture frameworks, supporting procedural training tasks, allowing student performances to be captured during each exercise. This can then be viewed by instructors to track and monitor overall trainee progress. Finally, from a SimCentric point of view, we've got a lot of involvement in range safety planning and management. with our SAF Foresight software. SAF Foresight entered into service in Australia, and it's used to support the planning and execution of live fire training. It's a server-based real-time 3D live fire exercise design and management tool built by SimCentric, and activities can be planned anywhere in the world with high-fidelity mapping, shapefile boundaries for military training areas with multiple doctrine combinations. Foresight includes an ammunition trace generator that allows the user to rapidly build all in-service ammunition natures in addition to experimental and future types. This includes all distances, angles, air danger heights, high explosive natures, and the ammunition trace generator allows entries of multiple doctrine types, including dismounted, mounted, demolitions, and mortars. The ammunition template library then provides all approved ammunition natures across doctrines that planners can use in their live fire practice. This can all be searched and filtered as required and customized to match the exact information required for the doctrine. The RDA generator includes a multi-day practice option, which is designed and highly intuitive click and place user interface, and planners may employ all ammunition natures drawn from the template library, including variations such as targets, elevations, and practice types. The planners may then automatically check the template for safety compliance with rapid adjustment, relocation, and orientation if necessary. The planner may also confirm movement box dimensions to ensure they're adequate for practice. And also included are both range-specific and organizational notifications that allow updates to be passed to all users in real time. Once the planner completes their range design, this can be saved and viewed in 3D and is automatically assigned an activity identifying number, allowing ease and reliability of management. And if a hard copy practice is required, this can be downloaded with correct map ratios, data fields, Mercator settings, and then printed or emailed as required. Foresight also enables supporting documents, briefs, ammunition requests, instructions, and information to be attached for submission for the range design. Digital submission is then completed through range appointments with automated email alerts and online review and approval, allowing for a fully digital range planning and approval process. This process is consistent across all doctrine types, as shown with the user interface updating to show relevant data fields and planning information necessary for additional doctrines, employing armored vehicles, aviation, artillery, mortars, and demolitions. As shown in the method of design, ammunition selection and amendment is simple and consistent throughout. The data fields include relevant information for range planning, such as observational posts, target placement, laser designation devices, and relevant safety checks, as can be seen here in the mortar doctrine user interface. Upon completion, all doctrines can be observed in the main 3D viewing portal with relevant overlays and markups applied. The planner can then review the range, including the location of key enablers such as observation posts. SAF Foresight also includes distance proximity matrix, which allows the user to identify the distance between various planning locations, as shown here, and when the forward line of own troops is too close to the mortar target, Safety Check identifies this, allowing the planner to review the distance proximity and move either the target or troops to a location that is both safe and compliant. The RDA library allows the user to review all created templates across all doctrine types, including all stages of submission. The user can then visualize any combination of the range templates as designed. The Foresight timeline viewer then allows the user to look at any combination of these planned or scheduled ranges across the doctrine types for any training area to review duration, location, and spatial parameters for all ranges. This allows range control to maximize the use of finite range location and deconflict users by both space and by time. The timeline viewer also operates in live mode as a real common operating picture, allowing the active and forthcoming ranges for a training area based on planned and scheduled practice. Reference document upload then allows the user to remotely access relevant information such as safety policy, procedures, customized briefing templates, range data, allowing full digital retrieval on ranges. The 3D terrain feature then allows the planner to visualize the actual terrain within the training area to refine their activity, planning movements and safety processes. This includes a distance, bearing and altitude change tool that allows key planning information for both individual legs and in total, allowing for refinement of activity. Target placement visualization allows for the safe positioning of targets relevant to firing locations, ensuring all live fire engagement remains within the approved arcs. Appointments and locations then allow the planner to show where relevant positions and key personnel are within the range practice, including specific icons, so all users can easily understand the layout and design of the range. 3D volumetric visual aids can then be added to show restricted operating areas such as no-fly zones, no-fire zones, and so forth. This allows the planner to deconflict by both location and altitude, and the live fire practices from surrounding restrictions. Color-coded post-it notes then enable planners to add relevant information such as ammunition load, radio frequencies, target configuration, and concurrent activities. And the markup tools allow the user to draw additional references on the 3D views, such as troop movement for the range and wider planning contingencies such as routes, time, distances to medical facilities, including contact information where required. This can include civilian hospitals. SAF Foresight also enables generation of expeditionary ranges to be created, even if the user has no mapping information available for a given location. In this instance, a range in Kenya is created with all safe for site planning across multiple doctrine types, complete with markup, visual aids, locations, appointments, post-it notes, and boundaries. Such ranges can also immediately use the timeline feature, both the planning and in live modes, as shown, allowing SAF Foresight functionality to be quickly applied and reliably anywhere in the world. So that's SimCentric. Those are the main products that we have within the company and the portfolio. We are attending DSET in person this week. We'll be there on the booth, and we'd be happy to meet you at the event. My contact details are shown in the slide. If you have any questions, please let me know either directly via email or through the platform that we're using here. And also, please let me know if you'd like to set up a specific appointment during the course of the event, although it's fairly informal in terms of the demonstration areas. If you've been before, you'll have seen that, and be more than happy for you to turn up and ask questions on any of the products and capabilities that we've shown.
Thanks for that, Simon. Really interesting. I'm really personally interested in all the new developments in SAF Foresight, so I'll be around to see those first thing in the morning. Oh, you've gone Infinity.
Oh my God, sorry. There we go.
Right. So Amar has asked you a question and said, what can we expect when visiting your booth tomorrow? He's a massive Fortnite head. So any guest demo tech for the guests to try?
There will be, yes. We'll have some PCs loaded with software. We'll have some VR headsets as well. And a couple of my colleagues will be more than delighted to show you around the system. And, you know, if there's space available within the floor in a safe way, you'll be able to get involved and intimate with the software.
That's brilliant. And there's a comment as well from Major Scott Roach, Canadian Armed Forces, who said, as an old armoured range, I wouldn't say you're that old, Scotty, but, you know, getting there. Old armoured range planner for live firing. He said, I wish that this was around back then. It's impressive software tool. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Thank you for that comment. And we'd be more than happy to give you some more in-depth on that as well during the event. And
actually, Scotty's one of our speakers this week as well. So he's going to be around for a week. So
great. Make a note of that.
Brilliant. So we are going to go into Charisma.ai's presentation this morning. They are on the road, so they've sent us a video, which is quite a short video, which means that we'll end up being back on track. So that's pretty awesome, isn't it, Simon?
It is indeed.
Brilliant. Well, look, safe travels from Wootton Bassett, and I'll catch up with you later.
Absolutely. Cheers, Tess.
Cheers. Bye. See you later.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Right then, so we're now going to switch to a small video on behalf of Charisma. Then after that, we'll be back live with Rusty Orwin, the Rusty Orwin from Raytheon. So first of all, here's the video from Charisma.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to DSET, and my name is Guy Gadney. I am CEO and one of the co-founders of Charisma.ai, which is exhibiting at DSET 2024. Please do come and see us, and we can give you a more detailed presentation about what we're doing. In essence, Charisma.ai is a platform for simulating conversations. And in training, this is really important because rather than getting sort of multiple choice questions and answers that you might get on regular websites, you know, with those ones where you can choose A, B, C, or D. And usually what we do is we remember the ones that are not meant to press rather than ones you do. What we do is we immerse people into the conversation. So it's real voice in, voice out. I speak to the screen as I'm speaking now. And our characters, our virtual characters, understand what you're saying, and they react emotionally. They can get happy, they can get sad, they can get angry, and that influences then the direction of the project as it moves forward. So, and in fact, our heritage, our origin story was born in storytelling. So we did a lot of work with Hollywood studios. We've worked with Warner Brothers. We've worked with NBC Universal, with DreamWorks, with Disney. We've worked with Sky in the UK and the BBC. And what that taught us was how to create characters which are not just question and answer, you know, get out very quickly like regular chatbots. But actually, these are conversations. These are engaging situations, simulations which keep people engaged for longer periods of time, for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. We've done immersive theatre productions which ran for an hour for the entire production. And indeed, we did a full-length adaptation of John Wyndham's book, The Kraken Wakes, which was 4.5 hours of gameplay. So what I want to introduce you to quickly here is some of the work we've been doing, just to say hello, and then we will, have more details on this, on our partners, whether it's Oxford University, various universities, Innovate UK, and so forth, on our booth. So please do come and say hello to myself, Guy, or my colleague Harry, who will be there as well. In essence, what we're looking at is Charisma being used for employee onboarding, new employees who want to be trained more rapidly on what to say, what not to say, situations that they should be used to. Enhanced learning and retention, and then obviously training and the analytics that sit behind it. And the power of this is really important. So we're seeing these figures from PwC when you're looking at immersive learning of people being more confident, more focused. The information adoption is faster, and the emotional connection to the training is more important. What this basically means is summed up in one word, which is it's believable. These are believable conversation scenarios that are being played out. So here, for example, is actually the first project we did, which was with the University of Ulster, and it is a simulation for parents with autistic children to practice, for the parents to practice conversations in a safe space. So this scene, for example, is at bedtime, and always a tricky time, regardless of the child, really, where you want the child to go to bed, and you've got to break a situation, which is that they're watching television. And what we can do here is that the parent can simulate that conversation with this character, and then we're giving direct feedback saying, you gave Ben a prompt about what should happen after the TV show ends. This will help with the transition between watching television and going to bed. And this is really our superpowers. These are our superpowers.
I don't know.
So
it made me feel a bit uncomfortable.
Whether you're looking at compliance training, for a lot of corporations at the moment, and especially this year, sexual harassment training is now mandatory, is legal in the US and UK. And so it is vital for.
I guess I do feel sort of on edge around him.
It's vital for employees. Indeed, it's a legal requirement for employees to give
Well done for asking
feedback.
whether Graham's behaviour is part of a pattern.
You need to know this before you can answer Kim's question and determine whether she should report him.
So you can see here you get audio feedback, and then you get a detailed summary of what you said, the understanding you had of the situation, and areas which you may want to improve down the track. That is our 2D version. So we have 3 versions of Charisma. Charisma really is this layer that powers all of these conversations, but visually you could have a 2D graphic novel style, like I just showed you, or something more 3-dimensional.
Hi, we're very pleased to see you.
This is a job interview training simulator. It's your chance to brush up on those interview skills.
So these characters are our sort of Adam and Eve characters. You can change them, you can change what they're wearing, change what they look like. You can add more. There are just 2 here, but we can have as many characters as you want. So really the situation is that you walk into a room and see it play out. So this is a simulator for a job interview. And then up into this wonderful VR situation simulation we have developed for our partners in Los Angeles, the Wonder Seed Foundation, to train kids on workplace situations. In this instance, it's working with a difficult co-worker, and you have to understand what's happening, what's going on. Why is this co-worker not willing to work with you? Why does she disappear whenever large numbers of people working at the coming into the hotel, she always disappears into the back room. So it's up to you to work out why, and empathize with her, and by that way you succeed. We support 15 languages out of the box with Charisma, and adding new ones every day. In this instance, this is an English language training module for Spanish speakers. And again, you've got multiple characters. You've got your guide there who's teaching you how to do things, and then and bringing that to life in a realistic restaurant scenario. With the analytics, all of our analytics are real time. As a user, you can see, as a creator, you can see which situations are working, which ones aren't working, where people may be as a cohort falling down, and where they're excelling. And that allows you to design and iterate your work really quickly and on the fly. And for a user's perspective, we can give them real-time feedback like this on what sort of language they're using, whether they've used key phrases, that sort of trigger phrases that you want them to mention in the conversations, and then you can see the transcript. So in essence, for us, this is about effective learning. It is about teaching and training users rapidly in multiple languages. You want to give them situations maybe where suddenly the conversation changes from English to French or Spanish or any of the other languages we support, and see how they react. Above all, though, one of the key things about Charisma is that we were set up over 7 years ago now, prior to OpenAI. So that means that as we were designing our conversational AI, we had to build our own tech stack, which meant our own data sets, which we curate. There are data sets. We pride ourselves in responsible and ethical use of AI. And also, from your perspective, it means that the conversations are 100% safe. In other words, they're not going to hallucinate. You can print out the scripts of what they're going to say prior to going live, and you can control them. Now, naturally, as you might expect, we integrate directly and seamlessly out into OpenAI and Anthropic and multiple models. I think we've got about 6 models out there that we support already that you can just tap into for moments of improvisation or where you want to leverage those sorts of technologies. But for us, this is about being able to offer you a platform which is controllable and safe. And as I mentioned, the analytics are a key part of what we do. Everything we do is in real time, so you can see those analytics on different versions of the stories that you have and look at them and then improve on a really easy to use way, which is the final piece, which is that what we find is that because we designed these interfaces for the entertainment industry, for writers who are non-technical, it provided us a way of provided them a way of creating these sorts of projects incredibly rapidly. The first project we were looking to do, we developed on another piece of AI software, and it took probably about 8 or 9 months. And then that was the inspiration for Charisma, and I recently migrated that project over, and it took 2 weeks. We're looking at a number of education providers at the moment who are looking at where sort of conversational scenarios and production pipelines that maybe stretch into months as they go through the different processes. We can do that in days. So for us, this easy to produce is a key part of what we do, and quick to deploy, meaning we have multiple different version control. We've got software development kits and APIs that plug out into Unreal Engine, into Unity, into the web, into mobile, indeed into robotics. So we've got a way in which whichever platform you're wanting to build your program on, Charisma can plug into those really easily. So that's where we are. Do come and see us at the booth. Really looking forward to meeting you all. And also a quick plug for the panel session that we've got on Thursday, where we'll be talking about this in more detail as well. Thank you very much. Can't wait to meet you all in Bristol.
Hello, everybody. Right, that's the video from Charisma, and actually this is something quite different as well, and really good to see, and it can be embedded into all of our working lives as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this on the show floor tomorrow. Now we should have Mr. Rusty Orwin from Raytheon joining us now. I'm just going to bring him up. Rusty, are you there? You just caught me eating pain au chocolat, by the way. Right, Rusty, we did put you in. There he is, brilliant. Coming up. Rusty, are you there? Can you hear us? You're just a blank screen at the moment, dude. Nope, he's disappeared again. Abby? Nope. Okay, Rusty, can you please share your audio and video again, please? And we'll try that again. Rusty Orwin, can you please share your audio and video? And right, you're coming up now. You're still a blank screen. Oh. It's blocked. Right. For some reason, Rusty, your screen share is blocked. When you did the test, when you applied it, did it all work? You can put in the chat. Nope. Abby, have you got comms? Okay, let's see if we can get comms established. Okay, Rusty, I can see that you said it keeps disconnecting when you're in. Tell you what we'll do, rather than struggle through it, we'll come offline and do some tests with you, and then we can always bring you on in a bit later. No, we couldn't see anything or hear anything other than a white screen when you were up. So I'm afraid it might be your end. But we'll give you a call after this, and we will come back and bring you up later on. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us in that sense. All right. ladies and gentlemen, that's we will reschedule Raytheon for in a bit, and we'll announce that in the event and in the chat, so you know when to come back to hear from Rusty and his team. And meanwhile, now we're going to go for lunch break and networking. Please go and use Networking Roulette. You do need a webcam for that. Thanks for the heads up on that from somebody earlier. Go and visit the other booths and find out all about those companies and what they've got to offer. There's lots of organizations on there as well, including ETSA and Fight Club. There's lots of organizations with memberships. It's not just about selling stuff, it's about networking. Also with the Careers Day on Thursday, we've got a job focus and talent focus. Don't be shy if you're looking for work to say to people that, hey, I'm looking for work, because pretty much every company here will always be looking for talent. If not today, then certainly very soon. Rusty, we appreciate that you've got IT issues. Don't worry, we'll try and get you back up later. And if not, we'll do something else during the week or at a future date. We will make sure that you don't miss out. So thanks to everybody, and we will see you after lunch. All right, thanks very much.
I'm Stu Armstrong, so I'm the Chief Technology Officer over at Bylight Technologies. So it's a US defense contractor. Just recently opened an office in the UK as of about 3-4 months ago. Very much a US defense contractor working with the US Army, US Air Force, and a few other organizations to basically build modeling and simulation. So it's going to give a quick company overview and then delve a little bit into 2 major programs that we're running. Just give you a little feel from what it looks like over in the US from a modeling and simulation perspective, certainly on large-scale modernization programs, and then open the floor up to a bit of Q&A if anyone has any questions, particularly on the 2 programs I'm going to mention. So Bylight Technologies, say a US defense contractor. We're about 2,000 people. So Bylight acquired basically 2 small M&S companies, Cole Engineering, which is where I'm from, and Verax Technologies, that build a lot of flight training devices for the aviation community, and really established a modeling and simulation vertical that has about 550 modeling and simulation professionals, delivering across the gambit of virtual, constructive, and live technologies. I'm based in Orlando with most of my engineers, having been here now for just over 10 years, having spent 17 years in the UK, trying to establish the kind of same principles, I guess, around modeling and simulation, service-oriented architectures. Just before coming to the US, I did a stint over in Nightworks, where we were looking at training transformation and what kind of the next generation simulations look like. So part of my move to the US was very much, I guess, a little bit of selfishness around US budgets, recognizing the fact to actually deliver a kind of modernization effort is something that requires not an insignificant sum of money. I felt the UK had done a great amount of research, but didn't necessarily have the resources to kind of implement that from a greenfield development, so from a ground up development. So I moved over to the US with a company called Kinetic, 2.5 years there, and then joined Cole Engineering. And then since then, been really supporting Cole Engineering, kind of trying to adopt some of these principles of agile software development, very responsive to the user needs, changing the way that acquisition of these systems is done so that we don't wait 5-6 years to deliver a system. We can do something very rapidly. So that's a little bit of my background, where I ended up. And really from our perspective at Bylight, we have 2 major programs where we're kind of embracing that kind of agile execution, rapid development. And they're both part of the US Department of Defense's kind of change in how it acquires systems. So rather than the old waterfall methodology of having thousands of requirements, going out to tender and asking really for a big bang delivery, they've moved down something called a software acquisition pathway, which is very much we want to acquire minimal viable products that we can deliver to the user as quickly as we can, get user feedback, incorporate that feedback in the next development cycle, and kind of continues to deliver. So the two programs we're doing that on, one of them is called the Synthetic Training Environment, or the US Army's STE, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, which is a pretty large program. The software portion of that is just under $500 million of development money. So again, fairly large number. As a Brit over in the US, it's sometimes surprising how big the development budgets are, as well as a large hardware portion that's similar in size. So probably between hardware and software, just under $1 billion, to basically modernize the whole US Army's collective training environment. So rather than bespoke systems, very much designed to do one particular task really well, the US Army has decided to create a synthetic training environment that basically delivers everything needed for live virtual constructive, all the way from the individual training level up to core and higher. So a grand vision. It was split into 3 parts, like a hardware portion called Reconfigurable Virtual Collective Trainer, which is basically your training devices, the training simulation software training management tool, which is basically the software that runs those devices, and then a capability called One World Terrain. I guess US recognizing, like everyone else, that you need to have almost real-time terrain updates delivered to your training systems in order to do either mission rehearsal or mission preparation type activities. So co-engineering, Polar Bylight was fortunate enough to win 2 of those 3 pillars. So we won the hardware portion, RVCT, and we won the software portion, TSS TMT. And we've been delivering those for the last 3 years. Again, this very rapid prototype delivery. It's interesting on the hardware side. We've gone through basically 3 generations of hardware. We build a prototype, get that fielded to the Army, get feedback from the Army, and then incorporate those feedbacks into the next iteration. And for the US Army in particular, we built 14 vehicle variants using that methodology. All the ground vehicles, tanks, armored fighting vehicles, logistics trucks, artillery vehicles, as well as all the aviation assets, so the Apache, the Black Hawk, and the UH-60. So these are devices, crew training devices, so you actually sit in them and fly and operate the aircraft or the ground vehicle as a crew, and then you can link multiple ones together up to a battalion or brigade's worth as the ultimate aim, and deliver large-scale collective training. So similar to UK CAT, except these boxes and simulators designed to basically deploy to the point of need. So they're all man-portable, they all pack up into Pelican cases and can be set up and run at the point of need, with the aspiration of a soldier being able to set up the equipment within just under 10 to 15 minutes. So comes off the back of a truck, soldier sets it all up, presses the big green button, and they're in training, preferably with all the software running in under 30 minutes. I think we're averaging about 15 at the moment. So that's the RVCT. We've just been awarded the production contract, so we're building 260 of those kind of devices, and we'll be deploying out to the field army very soon. And then the software portion, very similar kind of process. We started at the squad level and have been working up an echelon every 6 months. We're just at the brigade level at the moment, where we're delivering all the simulation software that can run a virtual, constructive, or live exercise. All the training management tools, so how you go from logging in, identify your training task, all the way to being able to give objectives and measures, create the scenario, run the scenario, and then do after action review, all in a single software suite that enables the users to kind of create their own exercises and deliver their own training. So I think what's interesting about the US is they've very much decided that it should be soldier operated and soldier led where possible. Contractors are there to support, but they don't want a large sustainment tower of hundreds of contractors around the US having to build and deliver exercises because the tools are too unintuitive or too complex in order to run. So that's one of the major drivers of the innovation was very much around to kind of enable soldiers to be able to deliver training anywhere, anytime, without having to rely on hordes of contractors going out and supporting. So we've had squad level exercises built and delivered in under 20 minutes. So literally from logging onto the system to having done your after action review, we're looking at about 20-25 minutes. Battalion exercise, we had a battalion staff exercise run. And by the second day, they were building their own exercises and building their own vignettes in the system, and spent the whole week training. So again, very, very empowering. Lots of feedback on user interfaces and workflows, and how to make it easy for people that are very busy during their day jobs, don't necessarily have dedicated staff to be able to do this. So a lot of automation in the background. And then from this feedback principle, we've done, trying to think, over 60 soldier touch points, where we've basically had operators and users come in, soldiers come in, use the system, and then provide feedback. And really the development cycle is around responding to that feedback, and then, you know, within hopefully a sprint, which is about 4 weeks, deploying something back out or bringing them back in that they can see their feedback incorporated in the system. So a very different approach to building and acquiring a system. The US acquisition actually enables, as long as you're still building features and delivering basically a major capability release every 6 months, you can keep going down this train until basically you run out of features to incorporate. So it's not a big bang delivery anymore. It's very much a rolling feature delivery as we go out. So I've kind of hopefully given some folks a view of that. If you, we have a BioLite booth, and we have a couple of videos showing you some of the STE capability, certainly on the training management tool and the RVCTs. What's interesting now is as the US in particular adopts both multi-domain operations and coalition operations, we're seeing our US customers push some of these technologies we've developed out to the US Air Force. For instance, we have an infrastructure that enables large scale exercises to be run. As I said, we have to go from squad all the way up to core, but we have to run the core at an entity level good enough to support virtual trainers. So we've done a lot of work around how to make these infrastructures scalable, work over wide area networks in denied or limited environments. We all know military networks tend to be pretty terrible. So passing very high bandwidth capabilities through there is very tricky. So the runtime infrastructure can support millions of entities, and we've demonstrated that operating in virtual sims across a US Army network. The Air Force has just adopted that. The Marine Corps is using that for some of the wargaming features that it's started to roll out. So we're seeing like a wide scale adoption of some of the technologies we've developed under the synthetic training environment across the US. So with that, I wish I could show you some slides, but I think hopefully that gives you an overview of certainly the Army STE program, what we've been doing there. And to say, BioLite has been running that now for the last 3 years as prime. So a lot of lessons learned and a lot of do's and don'ts, I guess, on actually changing the acquisition side as well as the delivery side. So with that, I'll stop, see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Stu. Yeah, if
No
you have any
worries.
questions, either use the forum chat or the official Q&A tab. We keep an eye on both. I can't see anyone.
Everyone's still asleep from lunch.
Yes, well, that's it, isn't it? You go off and have lunch, and we try to have quite long lunch breaks for
Yeah,
our
so
attendees, because we get that you use lunch to quickly check your emails and go and have the odd meeting. But yes, inevitably you come back in a bit of a post-lunch coma.
Okay.
Oh, something in the chat. Some kudos from Mr. Addy Murray.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
Well, yeah, I won't see you in person, will I, Stu? Because you're staying.
No, you won't. Unfortunately, yeah, it clashes with a US conference at the same time. But yeah, we have a booth at on the show floor. two of my engineers are over there, and so if you have any questions, want to pose any difficult questions, please go over and ask.
Sanjay.
Yeah, Sanjay and Tonka, Dr. Tonka is over there.
Brilliant. Well, Stu, thank you very much for that. I shall let you go about the rest of your day and then prepare to bring up my next exhibitor. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, so just on that note, and I'm just I shall bring up Dr. Karl, who should be coming up shortly, and I'm about to approve your poll. Thank you very much, Karl. That's in the event chat. Poll.
Hello.
Hello, Karl. So nice to see you again. Hello.
Okay, thanks for giving me the opportunity to have a nice talk today.
Yeah, no, great. And we shall definitely get you in person next year. We'll get it marked in the get you in person. But, thank you very much for joining us today for our sort of in a slight break to the industry exhibitors to give us a keynote session and some insight and some knowledge that you have for us. So in the event chat there is a poll. So I expect
not yet, please.
You'll explain that one for us. But I'll now hand over to you. Did you want to just, before I do disappear, did you want to just make sure that the screen share is working?
That's perfect.
You did test. Always works during the test.
So here we go.
Perfect. Right, all yours. I'll see you at the end, Karl, with questions.
Thank you. So hello, everyone. As you see, today I'm going to talk about resistance in change processes and how integrative approaches smoothens emotional burden. What we are talking about is an interesting thing. Just a few years ago, there was this interesting discussion going on. Highly sophisticated people talked about how to win wars. Obviously, it was all about breaking the opponent's will. So they thought it was about fear. So the highest ranking officers in the imperial general staff knew exactly what to do in 1910. Focus on the bayonet. So although, and that's the funny point about this, automatic rifles and machine guns were already invented. And also the War Office suggested to focus on firepower as being a decisive factor. So if you think that is a remarkably story and remarkably wrong, please read The Offensive and the Problem of Innovations in British Military Thought, 1870 to 1915, by T.H.E. Travers. That's exactly the point. You will find plenty similar stories in which high-ranking leaders at some point decide to stay conservative instead of innovative, especially in the military. And we ask the question, why do people tend to stick to the known? So let's have a look at our way to construct meaning and understanding of the world. Let's imagine, just for a moment, that we just woke up in a strange surrounding which we have no knowledge about. We don't know why we are there, how we got there, and we know nothing. So we would probably carefully try to explore this world. Exemplarily, at some point, we would need to eat. So maybe we'll find these kind of different berries, red ones. At the beginning, we would like to eat a few because you never know, safety first. And the next day, if everything went well, good, we know it's okay and we can eat more, maybe a lot. If not, well, that's exactly what happens, trial and error. We learn and adopt. Or, the better saying, while we adopt, we learn. So that's the point. We try to learn the effective amount of food to eat without getting poisoned and still getting fat enough to not starve. So we have to experiment in these different strange surroundings. That's why at the beginning, usually we would be open to try out things. Otherwise, we wouldn't figure out how or what to eat and which berries are edible. Regarding the amount, we are getting back and forth again. And this is risky to some degree. That's what everyone would agree on. However, as long as we survived, the approach is functional. So our mission accomplished is we survived. Thus, we continue to do so. And at some point, our learning cycles seem to have developed to a kind of a normal distribution. So we would see things like, that's the perfect amount without getting poisoned or starving. Similar things are used in cognitive sciences. And now you start to get an idea of where I'm coming from scientifically. We use Bayesian theorems in the equations to simulate learning cycles. So also in neural networks and other things. Maybe you have heard of these things. So back sometimes, artificial neural networks were created using standard weighted relations like on the left side with different nodes. And they were stable, but not fit to adapt. Nowadays, we use something more similar like the brain that is adapting and using these Bayesian equations. So learning is a process. For us, it is important to survive. However, at some point, things we learned, we shouldn't question again. Just imagine these berries if we would forget to know what we can eat. So we might get back to the starving point, or we would try to eat the berries again, which made our tummy ache. So also this might not be a good idea. And so what happened, at some point, we learned how the world works or how we can survive in this specific world. And by doing so, we do something else. Usually we start to understand the interconnectedness of things. For example, like just look at these yellow berries. They are poisoning even in small numbers. So we would suggest that other yellow things might be poisonous too, like colors used in other things. And we learn how to use signals to avoid things that are dangerous to us and thereby survive. Altogether, that means learning is a process, and it is important for our survival. And in military, well, military is a special thing. Military is a so-called high reliability organization. So it's operating under extreme conditions with threats against life and well-being of soldiers, civilians, and other people. As such, lessons learned have to be sustained at all costs to minimize risk and danger while accomplishing the missions given. Doing so, lessons learned are difficult to question. Just think back at our berries. The yellow ones are poisonous. You would like to retest this hypothesis? No, not really, especially in an organization like the military, because just time passing doesn't mean it changes. And you would also like your men and women to do so as well. So stick to the lessons learned. And by doing so, add a strict and strong hierarchical setting, as is necessary in military because you're dealing with life-threatening conditions under time pressure, like when time is of essence. You do not want to discuss every order given. So consequently, you therefore create an organizational culture which wants to obey not only orders, but also to hand down knowledge over time. And this might be a reason why there's this so-called conservative culture hypothesis for military, and it's still validly discussed, including order of seniority. So, however, what does this have in common with this big cheese. This plane looking like a flying Swiss cheese is a collection of data. It shows us hits of British fighter planes during the Second World War. It's often used to explain the so-called survivorship bias. Looking at the representation, we would like to reinforce the areas with the white dots on it, because that's where most hits occurred. However, there's a bias. These dots were collected from the planes returning. So exactly the other areas are important to reinforce if we want to get more planes returning to base. So I bring up this topic as it brings together things from before. A close friend of mine, he has a beautiful picture of experience. Just imagine experience to be the lantern hanging down from our backpack while we journey life. The issue is, it only enlightens the way behind us, while the front of us is in the dark because of our body's shadow. So when it comes to big changes, experience is not exactly brilliant. Just remember the story about the automatic weapons. And that's also why sticking to lessons learned in riskful environments is important, but sometimes might be an issue. So changing, for example, the knowledge about the deadly berries would reasonably be questioned. Just imagine, these are the yellow berries from before, that you learn eating these berries is extremely painful. Maybe you even saw others die because of eating it. You would absolutely avoid these berries at all costs. So if you came to meet someone new, and this person invites you over for dinner, serves you these berries, this would challenge your safety and security. What would you think of the situation and of the person? Well, in real life, we have something similar. I don't know if you know this nice fish. It's a fugu, or the balloon fish. And the point is, at some point, someone figured out what the real reason is that makes this thing dangerous. Just imagine for the berries that the poison would be disintegrated if you cook it. So you could eat it safely. And that's exactly what happens if our understanding of the world gets challenged. At first, we will feel insecure because safety and security is threatened. The same goes on in our profession. So if our professional approaches are getting challenged, it threatens our professional existence. Consequently, we get emotional and when we deal with this so-called threat. Talking about emotions and changes, a lot of people know this Kubler-Ross grief cycle with different other pictures and tables like, but it shows the different phases of emotions going through a change process. Management literature will give you plenty of recommendations for all of these different phases. In my point of view, the most important thing is this. Emotions are good because they show we care. Another thing we know is that change takes time. Talking about changing behavior or other things, we talk about 18 to 254 days with an average of 84 days, which is a study looking into behavioral change in normal life's conditions. But only, that's the important thing, change only happens if people get involved and they get beyond the pre-contemplation phase. So how do we get people into action? And that's why what I want to show you something. I'm going to show you an object now. And for yourself, please decide what it is. Is it a cup or a bowl? And I will give you 3 seconds to do so. So here we go. So that was an easy part, I guess. And now I'm going to show you another one. Please decide for yourself, cup or bowl, within the next 3 seconds, please. Okay. that might be easy as well. And we have a last one, so obviously it will be a little bit different. Here we come. Interesting thing is, a guy named Labov conducted this experiment in the early 1970s. His results are interesting, as some might not consider these things bowls at all. So when the ratio of height to diameter exceeded 1 to 1.9, the chances for being chosen as a bowl was about 25%. But that wasn't the end, because you also had things like this or this. And Labov wasn't just talking about is it cup or ball, but he changed one single parameter to get this result. Bowls or objects looking like this, more than 50% of the people decided that obviously is a bowl. So what did he do? One thing. Obviously, if it's filled with food, it can't be a cup. So changing the context of the frame can help to change the meaning of an object. And the same goes for creating a framework, like an understanding of a battlefield, of a training setting, or other things. So here we come. I told you, or at the beginning, I offered you to have an integrative approach of how to solve change processes. Add context or frame to extend a shared mental model is of use for you, that people are able to get a new idea of what they are doing. That's not threatening things, but it changes the way you see things. Just like the cup or the bowl, if you add something like food, obviously it can't be a threat, because that's what things are used for. Next step is like it's a way to get people increase agency by imagining usefulness or create possibilities how to use a thing themselves. So you do not want them to focus on the main topic, like, okay, that's new, what's the change? But being creative and trying to figure out ideas how or what they can use things differently. By doing so, they start to deal and start to think outside of the box. And that is something they produce, which is important, because a lot of these difficult feelings through change processes occur because we feel like victims instead of having agency over what's going on. And yeah, another idea or thing is new ideas and the old ones usually start to conflict. So like general principles, they implicitly interfere with whatever new comes up. And what you would like to do is get your people distinguish the properties for and why these different concepts are different. Because if you do so, you figure out specific elements that you can focus on and also adopt the new things to a specific use and element. Combining these new approaches, then you will have a solution to have a more diverse setting of reactions and behavior that helps people to deal with the circumstances they have to deal with. And this really seems to be so easy, and at the same time is so difficult. Listening to people helps them. That's what's showed in several studies. It helps them to increase the self-efficacy, because if they are getting hurt, they already did something to change the situation and having agency. It increases security for your people because they feel safer. They are allowed to tell and talk about things they think are wrong. And therefore, by feeling safe, it increases creativity. And creativity is a precondition for being able to integrate new things into your mindset. And that is exactly what we would like your people to do. There are also a lot of other things. You could create imaginations of functional futures or finding common ground on a meta level, or you want to integrate on other things. The most important thing in the end of the day is that you would like to get your people into action, and therefore through integration of the new and the known, so that they will find out a way that works for them. And I know you've received a lot of theoretical information now. In a nutshell, emotions are good. They show we care. Try to create an and over but, because you want to integrate the new things and the old habits. And as a nice statement, focus instead of change through erasing things, change to add the new things. Don't destroy the old world, but add the new one. There are plenty of solutions you can go for. And, as well as time is limited, I guess your attention span might be. So agency instead of being a victim of change, it's part of what I'm here for and trying to help you. And I think that's a perfect time to come to a Q&A. So. What do we have? Any questions? So I hope the Q&A is open. Okay.
Yeah, so we can use chat or the Q&A. Just give people a few moments. They're probably still processing all of that.
Okay. Well, in this case, I will just go for one thing. I do a lot of leadership trainings. I'm full-time military. I also have my own company, which is a nice thing in Austria. We're allowed to do so. And I'm training in military. I also train other public administration organizations. I'm doing profit, non-profit organizations, and a lot of different other things. What I see most of the time is that a lot of leaders think emotions are bad, and I have to deal with these difficult peoples, and they are so difficult because they always engage the idea, whatever. Come on, people, that's perfect, because you really, really love the people to have emotions, because otherwise they wouldn't care. The worst thing you can have is an employee who doesn't care. And these are the ones who sound like, doesn't matter, left, right, whatever, I don't care. So the next thing is people who usually are called being difficult because they talk a lot against ideas of leadership or whatever. Well, try to listen, because they might have a point you want to reconsider. So by doing so, you offer room for discussion to figure out why this part of the discussion might be of interest. And maybe it's of interest for everyone, not only the small department or the person, him or herself. So dealing with emotions becomes more and more important. So a lot of people also ask me, hey, Karl, it's easy for you because you're military, you're an officer. If you as a lieutenant colonel tell people what to do, they just follow. Oh yes, you're right. Soldiers are no human beings. They're just like machines. You press a button called order and they do so. No, come on, seriously? They exactly.
Well, they might do, but they just don't respect you.
That's a point. And even if they do, it depends on the energy they put in. Well, you can do a job one way or the other. It means whatever, let's say we need to develop a program for how to integrate simulation in our education system. Well, some people might just send out some emails and say, okay, I haven't received any response yet, so that's it. Others just walk through plenty of doors, polishing a lot of knobs and talking to people, trying to figure out how to improve things. So both ways follow the order, one more, one less. So that's the point. People are easily developing a feeling of, is this just something he or she tells me to do because he or she heard someone to order something, or if they're convinced that this is an important thing. So there are a lot of plenty of things you can work on and deal with. And in my opinion, emotions are really, really important for every single part. And yeah, that's what I personally think is important for leadership development as well, that we start to understand how emotions are thriving factors. And I'm not telling you only as a psychologist or from a psychologist's point of view, but also from sociology, leadership development. So these are very, very important things, and also from experience. And yeah, emotions, by the way, are the things that give us the energy to do things, also against all odds. So that's what you would like to do.
Yeah. We do have a question in the chat as a warfighter, how do you balance the need to value and validate people's emotions while at the same time understanding that sometimes we need to set aside our emotions when they hit us at inconvenient times?
Well, we all know that there are times when our emotions are an issue because they prevent us from acting. Just as when you talk about warfighting, the point is, if you're in contact at this very moment, you wouldn't be able to discuss things. At the same time, we all know people who stop doing something because they freeze. That's also emotions in action. Fight, flight mechanisms is something that fits our survival modes. Freeze mode is something that is the very extreme of flight, because we do not only flee physically, but mentally. So what we would try to do, and that's what military training is for, having strong routines that give us a feeling of safety, even in dangerous situations. By having at least a basic level of feeling safe or secure, you're able to overcome this mode of blockade or this freezing mode. Because this freezing is kind of an over-arousal. You have this peak performance, like a U shape, an upside-down U. So performance is on a peak level in the center, and on both other sides, it's on the lowest level. So if you're not activated at all, you do not do anything. And if your arousal level is extremely high, it also tends to be zero activation. So you can't do anything. And what you would like to do is to get people into this area where they're really very well doing things. That's one thing. The other thing is, if we talk about emotions in our, let's say, peace times at home, maybe after or before a mission, or you're getting deployed. So some people still have emotions from former experiences, post-traumatic stress disorders and others. All these things can interfere. They're a thing you have to deal with in a health issue. So if this interferes, you really need to have people helping these people to overcome the situation that might also influence their quality of life. I hope that partly hits or answers your question, Anthony. So there are a lot of different things.
I think we've got, because we're just about to go into a coffee break, I would like to there was just one more, a couple of points in the chat there, if you're happy to answer them, Karl, and then we'll finish up there. because I know people are desperate for their coffee. So it is one of the grey when it comes to assessment, judgment in training, but I guess it depends on the different requirements and level of priority at every level of training. And I wonder if there is a generic template for this study for a better assessment that would be very, very beneficial for training. Did you want to just make, I know it wasn't a particularly, it wasn't a question, if you could just offer a comment.
I'm not quite sure what you're focusing on, CT. If I understand you correctly, I think we would like to have a list that tells us how well we are prepared, for example, in training about the different requirements. That's why you have all these different schedules and things, and also these settings of goals and things that are derived usually from lessons learned through conflicts, combat areas, whatever. So what military is like at some point tries to figure out what's going on the battlefield nowadays, and how do we apply our systems to do so. What we sometimes miss, and I think that was the idea of this machine gun thing, in civilian industry, we sometimes come up with completely new things, disruptive innovations. They change everything. Currently, we are talking about artificial intelligence, or as one of my colleagues states, he's a Harvard professor. He's an awesome guy. He's just a perfect sample of a person to be. And he has this different idea. He says it's not artificial intelligence we are looking for, but intelligent augmentation. So we have to turn it around. How is this new setting helping us to be better at? And by doing so, we as military should think, how are we better off to provide security for our country, or in general terms for the world, or whatever you're striving for. And if you have a strategic setting like this, then from this level, depending on how you are able to provide it in your organizational setting, you have to derive the goals for all the other elements below. And that is a huge job. So that takes a lot of energy and amount of thought and cognitive energy to deal so. I hope that is partly answering your question, if I got you right. And for the generic template for this study or assessment, what would be beneficial for training? Unfortunately, there's no general or generic template except the, okay, yeah, sorry, I'm not in Bristol tomorrow, but you can reach out to me via my website. You saw it in the slides. Looking forward to do so. Okay.
I think we'll wrap it up there, Karl. Thank you so much for your time today and for your knowledge and helping us to better understand that and have that in the forefront of our minds. But yes, thank you very much. We'll now go into another coffee break. So if anybody wants to stay on the line, go and maybe Karl, you might get lucky to get Karl in the networking roulette. And like you said, he's got his contact details there if you wanted to follow up with anything. And we do hope to get you in person at the show next year. So that'll be good stuff. But we'll meet everybody back here just before 3 o'clock when we'll be introducing Battlespace Simulations. And have a great rest of your day, whatever time zone you're in. Thank you, Karl.
Rapid meeting with DSTL and Kinetic, and there's about 100 people down there as well. So there's so much going on today. Thank you very much for being online with us this afternoon. We've actually only got an hour of program this afternoon before we finish here, and then we'll be going live tomorrow in Bristol. So the first person that we've got up this afternoon is actually Battlespace Simulations, and we've got Cord Cardinal from there. So I'm just going to bring in Cord now.
Yeah, very good. Hi, Tess. Can you hear me okay?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Are you well?
I am well. You can not hear me?
I can hear you well. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Have you been on for any of the other sessions today?
Yeah, I popped on for a little bit just to test and listen in as I was getting a few things done here, but all good so far. Very good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Where are you this afternoon?
So I'm in Canada, in Ottawa. Wish I was over there actually at the show, but
Yeah.
I'm over here. And our group is largely US based. So most of the companies there, we've got a few folks in the UK and
Yeah.
Poland and Norway actually as well.
Perfect. Yeah, your UK guys are actually setting up the stand downstairs as we speak. So
Yeah,
hopefully next year you can come over and join them. Have
Yeah,
them set
I'm looking
up
forward to
stand.
that for sure. Hopefully
Swan
things are
in.
going well.
Yeah, Ottawa's one of my favourite places as well. I work there a lot. So wonderful. And are you going to be presenting this afternoon?
Yeah, I'll just go over some of the stuff that you'll be able to see that we're showcasing on the show floor. I got a handful of slides. Hopefully we'll be able to show them here. And I'll go through them kind of quickly because there's a bunch of slides. So I'll just sort of home in on the key things that I think will be of interest to the group.
Perfect. Well, look, if you open up your share now, I'll make sure that you're all good before I zoom off.
Share screen. I'm going to go entire screen, and I have a couple of monitors. So hopefully looks like you can see my screen now.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you, Cord. I will zoom off and I'll see you at the end.
Okay, very good. Appreciate that. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye now. Okay, so ultimately, I think the area that I'd like to talk to is our blending of some of the modeling and simulation capability that we provide now in the realm of mission planning and analysis, as you'll see in contested environments, which is a lot of what we model with our software. So I'm going to go over a little bit of who we are quickly before I get into the kind of meat and potatoes of what I want to show here and what you'll be able to see on the showroom floor. But ultimately, what we do is we're known for modeling in a physics-based capability the entire synthetic battle space. So everything that you get from platform and human behaviors to weapon modeling and effects, aero modeling, sensor modeling, for example, signal propagation, and being able to visualize this in 3D space as well. So there's a lot of things that you can visually see in a battle space, but a lot of things that you cannot. And that, I think, is key to what we do. It's all physics-based, and we model at a very high fidelity everything that would go on in an entire battle space. So the core piece of software that we have is software called MACE. Its original acronym and current acronym stands for Modern Air Combat Environment, but I think it's probably more appropriate to consider it as like a multi-domain advanced combat environment. I think would be a better acronym for it, as it's evolved from more than just airspace. But this is the synthetic engine that provides all of our back-end modeling, again, physics-based, using a lot of open standards to work with both simulation-based protocols and operational systems as well. But we also consider this a little bit more of a simulation framework. So for the engineers potentially in the group, you can think of this as maybe a real-time MATLAB for modeling contested battle space environments. So we have a lot of partners that sort of tap into our APIs and build their own solutions on top of the modeling that goes on there. And this next slide just sort of depicts a bit of some of the non-visual EW capabilities, but again, we'll get into more of that. So I'll just move off of that. And then the other tool that we have in place now is a 3D visualization of the battle space. And hopefully you can see some of these videos that play. They might be a little bit choppy on your end, but certainly on the showroom floor, you can go take a look at all of these systems. But what we've done, and again, using that API that we expose, is we built an extension where we can visualize a 3D environment, both from, what you'd see in the real world, but then again, being able to have information density where you can put overlays of things that you wouldn't see in the real world. And this works well on screen, just as simple laptops, which is what the guys will likely have out on the showroom floor, but it's scalable so that we can run this multi-channel in Dome, and again, leveraging gaming technology. So all virtual reality, augmented reality, and the likes, being able to view all different viewpoints, including sensors as well. So we'll get into that. So those are kind of the key pieces that we're showing and using as we blend this into mission planning and analysis. So a couple things just to hit on here. why bring in sort of this modeling and simulation capability in here? Well, there's a couple of obvious reasons. I think a lot of flexibility in modeling, again, because we've got everything is physics-based, it's data-driven. We can bring in a lot of realism without having to really bring the system into the real world, and we can model a lot of that. So you can experiment with a lot of different capabilities and iterate through that, and it's a very efficient way of doing mission planning and then analyzing those plans against different tactics that you might want to employ. So to do that, there's sort of a blend of what we have. Largely, you can see on the left-hand side of this slide some of the simulation capability, but when it comes to mission planning on the right-hand side, you've got very specific systems and a very specific environment that you need to work within. And blending those are some of the tools that we've put in place over the years to ensure that, again, physics-based modeling that we have enterprise GIS components so that all the data and imagery and real-time elevation data that you can be bringing in, data-driven threat modeling and the like. So we put in place a good workflow that allows this to happen efficiently. And you can see here, as we've sort of evolved, there's a blending of what you'd find in typical mission planning systems to what we have in our simulation environment that allow you to sort of work through the different stages that you typically see in mission planning. So everything from recognizing your battle space and taking data that you'd have in, analyzing that data and planning, iterating through that plan, and ultimately exporting that plan so that it can be loaded into operational equipment, and then on the back end debriefing and analyzing that. So how would we do it using some of the tools that I've talked to? Well, we'd start off with building the battle space, so understanding your area of operations and looking at some of the initial mission data that you'd have and getting a visualization of that image or that battle space. So again, with MACE, because we've got things like an enterprise GIS component in there, you can pull in a lot of the data set that you typically have to work with. That includes satellite imagery and map data, elevation data, but we also bring in different data sources as well. We have, for example, a localized OpenStreetMaps database that can all this can run on a single laptop and offline. So you do not need to be online for any of this. And some of the things that brings in place is like road vectors for the entire world, building footprints for the entire world. And we're talking about 1.5 billion building footprints that come into place. And this allows you to do route planning and avoidance through different environments as well. We bring in climate zones and land use data, which is pretty important, both from, again, if you've got to go from point A to point B, understanding the land use between those points, but also, as you'll see, as we get into the 3D visualization of that, which I'll just jump to on the next slide here. So when it comes to visualizing the terrain, one of the strengths that we have with our 3D visualization tool is the ability to procedurally generate terrain anywhere in the world using that data set, and again, offline. So this all being done from a laptop, you can generate hundreds of thousands of square miles of terrain based on current imagery, elevation data, and the land use data, et cetera, that I'd sort of mentioned earlier. We ship this with, and you'll see this again on the floor, a 4 terabyte drive that allows you to do this again offline for anywhere in the world. But if you've got more recent imagery, higher resolution elevation data and the likes, you can use that data set as well. Again, leveraging the enterprise GIS component that is in MACE. And this is all done by our simulation-based framework that we've exposed to. So this essentially is an add-on that we built using those APIs. Some of the things that are and you will see in different is we've been able to also use some of artificial intelligence tools that have really come into play as of late too. So when it comes to generating buildings, there's all sorts of data that comes with height of buildings, size of buildings, color of buildings, and we're moving towards even being able to take imagery and work with that to generate realistic buildings. So how do we use this in mission planning? So first off, when it comes to mission planning software, you've got different data sets that you're pulling in through those means, such as ACO, ATOs. You might have electronic order of battle. These are all formatted in very typical standard formats. So again, Mace can ingest these data and visualize that. So as you're bringing in your electronic order of battle, for example, we've got a back-end data set that allows you, and this is data that you have the ability to customize and pull in classified data so that you can model the behaviors and tactics of opposition or your own forces, for example, when it comes to modeling that. But you can pull in these electronic order of battles, all these different data sets, and ultimately then have that in Mace that you can then run simulations against. And with the 3D environment, it also gives you the ability to then pull that into the 3D environment and visualize that in different ways as well. So this gives you an idea of airspaces and threat domes and the likes, and move quite seamlessly and very efficiently, and again, on just a simple laptop in that 3D space to iterate around. So to see that kind of in play, I'll let this kind of run through. Hopefully you can see this, but this gives you ability to give you a high level overview of your entire battle space, give you visualizations of a target area, and then sort of review your friendly forces in 3D as well. So at any point, you can get different viewpoints, both from a terrain perspective, different elevation, and against different kinds of threats. So if I maybe jump to the next slide as we start getting into analyzing that plan. So you've got a plan that you've got a good sense on. How do you analyze it? And so in here, I'll just hit enter. I think I got a couple of videos here. We've got all sorts of tooling that allows you to analyze everything from radar and signal propagation. That includes radio propagation versus jamming. So now you think in the context of drone operations, for example, where you're being in a very denied environment. You have the ability to assess, okay, if I put radio relay nodes, how close can I get to a particular target, for example. We have the ability to do assisted route creation. So again, you want to fly against known threats or intelligence-based reports against threats, against knowing that terrain, so you can do that route planning, and it'll do analytics to do that, and then export that data directly that you can upload into mission computers, for example. So a lot of tooling in place in the software that allows you to visualize that both in 2D and ultimately in 3D to get a sense of that. So again, sort of looking at this coming together, you can look at your threats, so SAM site analysis. You can, in the case of different weapons that you might use, this one is demonstrating a TLAM, so you can look at growler airspaces and maybe you're jamming. It depicts a HIMARS hot wall, so radio comm propagation, again, route evaluation, which I mentioned before. You can do missile and weapon flyout, and again, do this whole route preview that it shows here, so that you get a sense of, okay, of that mission, where am I likely to be detected and engaged, and where am I invisible? And all of this is dynamic, so you can adjust this route real time and then see in 3D the effects that has on that. So that gives you the ability to sort of work through and visualize. And then the next capability is iterating through that. So now you've got the ability to adjust that mission, so you can affect different things. We do, weather modeling, for example. I haven't touched on those kinds of capability. Night operations, so you can change the circumstances. Different, as it lists here, loadout. So what if you employ different tactics and techniques to a particular mission, and you can sort of iterate through that and again analyze. So a lot of capabilities that you have in that space to do that, and from different viewpoints. So if you want to do first person, you've got instrumentation and sensor views that you can work with as well. So you can get all sorts of different perspectives as you move through this. And again, we provide a bunch of tooling for this, but the idea is through our simulation framework, you can then build on your own sort of sensors and behaviors in this environment as well. So again, just sort of visualizing some of that, you can do some route planning against an area of operations. You can model different weapons launch, HIMARS launch. You can model offensive and defensive counter air and those engagements. You can assess traversing through high risk route segments and get a sense of that and understand how your sensors are going to operate in that. And then, visualize final approaches and the like. So lots of different things that you can do to pull this all together and visualize. And again, very dynamic. As you can go see on the showroom floor. You can drag these guys and move them around at any point in time and see the impact of that real time. I'll just move through a couple more. I know I'm getting tight on time here, but this at the back end, again, using leveraging some of the game engine technologies. There's different ways you can view this. This is just an example of viewing this with augmented reality and virtual reality in a collaborative environment where you've got folks in a distributed environment. You can, again, do this just on a screen view. And I mentioned we do even support multi-channel, so the concept of domes and the likes also can come into play. But we've got the tooling that allow you to do this, and I'm pretty sure the guys will have this set up if you want to view that as well. And there's a couple different views of that where you just put on the headset and you can engage and walk through a particular mission or debrief on the back end as well in different capacities. So, what are the advantages to this? I mean, obviously, this gives you the ability to do different forms of analysis so that you can ultimately hone in on a better approach and a better conversion on a better solution moving forward, and do a whole pile of what ifs and just change the dynamics of the mission. And do this because we use a lot of open standards, integrate nicely, and we are starting to integrate with varying systems in that regards, but integrate with your systems from a mission planning perspective. So this is just one of the many use cases of our software, but I think one that we're seeing a lot of traction as of late and a lot of tooling that we've done. So it's I encourage you guys to swing by the booth, and if this is an area of interest, by all means. But like I say, there's a lot of different use cases that we have. So a lot of interesting stuff the guys will be showing there, and I think that pretty much covers it for what I have in my slides. So hopefully I'm staying within my 15 minutes.
Cord, you've been immense. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Staying in the lanes, because it doesn't matter if we run over a little bit, but a lot is difficult. Thanks. That was really interesting. And again, if people online at the moment or later on when you're watching this recording, please remember that you can contact Cord directly through DMing on the platform. You can go and see the booth live in person this week, and you can also go to the website and contact Cord through the usual channels. So thanks very much, Cord, and we're going to say goodbye to you before we welcome Leonardo.
All right, thanks, Tess.
You're welcome. So Leonardo have sent us a video, so we're going to be watching a video from them first, and then we will be welcoming Andy Box onto the stage after. Thanks. So that's all disappeared. Good. After the video. So I'm going to disappear now, and then the video will come up. So thanks. So Leonardo, and we've got George Sampson here, who's the BD manager for Leonardo, specialist in land systems, to just have a few comments on what they're doing here and where they're going, and to answer any questions.
Hi everyone. So I think the easiest way to start is to talk about the video and also the training repivot on what we're looking to do. And again, a lot of what you've just seen is fairly aspirational, but it's trying to bring all of the parts that we would naturally be involved in and making sure that they all fit together. But also there is some understanding about how we will conduct vehicle supportability, how we will do all of these sorts of things. And Andy Box is also online, and so he can answer some of the more technical questions, whereas I can answer some of our aspirational training questions. And that's what I'm here for.
I'm just going to bring Andy in now. So how are you, Andy? Are you well? You need to unmute. He's good. You speak, Andy. No. Well, look, so has anybody here got any questions for the Leonardo team? You can see Andy now. If you've got any, so Andy's online. So if you've got questions now, you can go and DM him and let him know directly. And also set up meetings to be here in person or virtually all week, because they also have a virtual booth. Right then, I think we're all good. Stunned them into silence.
Yeah, well, it's obviously the video was that impactful.
It was a good video, actually, in fairness. Excellent video.
It was Andy.
Andy, I did hear that that might have had something to do with you.
Yeah, minimum input from me.
Yeah.
It's always the safest way.
Now look, and what demo have you got on the stand? What can people come
So
touch
again,
and poke
so what we've got on the stand is we've got some further explanation of everything. You know, we've all sat down, we understand the model. So we've got screens where we can actually have the model. So if you're very interested in this specific part, come and touch base with us. We've got some tablets. We can go through this and all explain the aspirations for everything that we plan to do in the future.
Excellent. Right then. We are, oh, thank you, Amar. Yeah, we've got a question in the Q&A, which, Andy, you can go and answer if you click on the Q&A tab in the forum and do that. I'm no good at lip reading, but I'm going to take it as, yeah, you're going to do that. And that's awesome. So, Andy, I'm going to say thank you. If you could stop sharing your audio video, please. And we're going to move on to our final session for today. So that's fine. You can stay with me whilst I'm doing the introduction. So this is our tech sponsor, and these are the people that make this platform enable us to do all of this live. So I'd like to welcome Pete Morrison and Razmat Ahmed to the stage, please, for a fireside chat this afternoon from Bohemia Interactive Simulations. Brilliant. Hi, Pete. Hi, Razmat. How you doing? Oh, you're a little bit specky on the sound there. That's better. Yeah, you just need to be a bit more intimate, chap. Sorry, you've known each other a long time. It's all good.
So I'd like to invite some customers as a personal development. As Tesla at this moment, I have the sales for the Bohemia, because I team events. One of the giving sponsor was first a chat of 2020 technologies, still lots of significant mathematics. So again, such a man. 2020 technologies,
I'm just asking you to turn the mic a little bit, darling, because the sound isn't great coming in. Yeah, Francesco, thanks. We got the message.
So technology study in terms of that's a simple spectrum.
Right.
So that's really minimum that outside of us. So let's put it down to two things. So that's a simulation spectrum of this. So within that virtual simulation, that is really minimal. It's minimum amount of personalization. I took those as they are today. I don't think some of those necessarily would be very expected through the use of the next years. Big business, anything in there. I mean, let's not get something to study. So let's go back to 2D sets of it. So 2D sets are being let's say next to each other. There's an around there's this service and what's the that's a terrain place. This is down to terrain questions. It's not pretty. You vote so it's like all the things so please people who took the mistake I would terrain, synthetic games, skills, synthetic terrain. So these settings for terrain is better. Now let's turn it into people from beliefs. First person terrain, first time. Talked about the challenges that customers had, the terrains that they've actually used to start the farming. I consider it about standing heat. So the one first of them, let's so we select that. So it's within a line, but we're just going to do a quick sample. That's about it. Check the lens, see if we can help those.
Great. Let's hope everyone can hear us now. If someone could just write in the chat that they can hear us loud and clear, then we'll pursue. Francisco 1531 couldn't. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to start again, but I'm going to be much faster. Pete Morrison, the Chief Product Officer of Bohemia, and I look after sales or possible. We have this title called 2024 Technology Scorecard for Virtual Simulation for Actual Battlefields. A really long title, what do I mean? So, virtual simulation for actual battlefields. So everyone knows that the Ukraine is nothing like all the NATO armies thought it would be to go to war. So if you're going to look at virtual simulation that really works for the complexity that people have on the real battlefield. And 2024 Technology Scorecard. 2 years ago, I interviewed Pete. He was in a hotel room in Orlando, in a room in Orlando where he's from. I was in a hotel room in Bristol, and I was asking Pete about the importance of terrain for making everything work. What the subjects that were the tip of everyone's tongue at DSET 2 years ago. What were they? They were OWT, one world terrain, SSEs, single synthetic environments, and STEs, synthetic terrain environments. And terrain was the forgotten element that made all of that work. And last year, I asked Bill Starmer and Al Lammerman from our geospatial team at Bohemia what challenges customers actually had to make terrains actually work for them. Now, this year, I'm very glad Pete and I are in the same place. If you're around in Bristol tomorrow for DSET, Pete's going to be on the opening keynote panel, so that'll be very fascinating. And I'm asking Pete, taking the opportunity of him being here, to close the loop on everything we've talked about for the last 2 years, and how well does technology do what we said it would do in the last 2 years? So how much did all the promises that technology and companies like ourselves and others offered, how much have they actually come true? So, Pete, let's start with the point about the actual battlefield. So what are the challenges in your battlefield now that need a technical response, the higher performance that people didn't really dream about back in 2022?
Yeah, so first let's slide that way a little bit to someone a little closer to the quite a bit. I would just make the point that, yeah, we're seeing in Ukraine, it's very much like a Back to the Future situation, right? So we have like World War I style conflict coupled with modern technologies like drones and the type of reconnaissance capability we've never had before. We have a lot of high fidelity 3D data being generated by satellites and high altitude aircraft. So there's a lot of data and information that's available to the commanders. At the same time, we have soldiers in trenches, many of which are, let's just say it's old-fashioned leadership. It's one brave squad leader or platoon leader motivating a bunch of scared soldiers to leave the bunker to kind of fight the war. So we have this very interesting situation where it's old World War I style conflict coupled with this new tech. And virtual simulations need to evolve to keep up with the type of tactics we're seeing. Manned, unmanned teaming, how to coordinate a drone operator who might be 1 kilometer behind the front line with the soldiers in the trenches. Lots of these problems which are being effectively workshopped right now, literally on the front line by the Ukrainians, and we need to learn lessons from that. So I would say that a lot has changed in the last 2 years, and we have a lot of work to do as simulation professionals to make sure that our technology can keep up.
Yeah. So, Pete, 2 years ago, everything was about terrains. How have the new products in making terrains, you said the importance of terrains now actually on the battlefield, simulate what's actually there. How far have we achieved that, Aidan, that you outlined?
Yeah, so I've been talking about the terrain problem for many years, and it really, I was right there when we were building terrains by hand to support simulation in 2005, 2006. It was painful, it was expensive. I've seen incremental improvement. We had programs like US Army SE Core, which was good at building terrain, but the timelines were very long, months to years. They were sending terrains on DVDs, and then they transitioned to using actual networks. And there was always this issue that it took too long to build terrain. And there were other issues, the fact that every simulation would have kind of a different terrain format. The dynamic terrain problem was never solved, which means that if we were using a flight simulator with terrain format X, and I'm using a virtual simulator with terrain format Y, if I blew up a bridge, it was very difficult to correlate that to your simulator. And there were initiatives like CDB that aimed to kind of solve these issues. CDB had its own problems. Most virtual simulators didn't use it. So that was kind of one of the issues, and militaries didn't really fund its adoption. But now I'm really happy to say that the technology has allowed us to solve these problems. Today, we can stream the terrain that different simulators require from a central server to multiple different engines, Unreal, Unity, VBS, constructive simulation. We can manage procedural generation and terrain deformation and destruction on the server to make sure that that's correlated across the network as well. So I know that the guys spoke about that last year. Today, we actually have technology that does exactly that. So I'm quite proud of how far we've come and in tackling these big problems.
You mentioned that it took weeks or months to build a terrain. With warfare today, with the Ukraine, for example, today, the terrain pictures changing daily. How quickly do these new products, these new capabilities keep up with that almost daily need for changes?
Yeah, so I mean, it really, there's a flow of information. It starts with the collection. So clearly there is collection happening all the time from different platforms. That the collection can happen from a drone flying at 400 feet right up to satellite data being provided by the likes of Maxar. So collection's happening. And then there are companies like Black Shark and Lockheed that specialize in using machine learning to very quickly kind of extrapolate data from that. So the machine learning algorithms will run, they'll identify where the trench lines are, they'll identify changes right down to individual craters. That then flows into platforms like our Mantle platform that is synthesized and then turned into 3D data for simulation. That entire process is automated now, and we don't need GIS experts anymore. It's a couple of clicks, might be 20 clicks to get the terrain basically finished and either available for download or available for streaming into multiple engines. So it doesn't just need to be Black Shark or Lockheed. There are many companies doing it, but it's not cheap. It's going to get cheaper, but it's certainly, the technology is all there.
And what's the typical cycle time of someone's giving the data, giving it someone to do the clicks? You want a terrain you can do decision support, mission rehearsal, planning, training on. What's that kind of cycle time?
It's down to hours. The trick is that assumes that the collection has happened. Right. So if the collection is happening and the geo-specific, geo-referenced information is available, then you're pointing technology like Black Shark at the data you have. You let it run, and of course it depends on the area. If you're talking tens of kilometers, it's 1 or 2 hours. If you're talking an entire country, it might still be a day. We're running processes on the entire planet. It takes a few days. And if you're talking planet-wide, but yeah, I mean, the technology's really come a long way in the last 3 years.
I mean, that's amazing. It really seems to fulfill the promise you were talking about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I believe it has, and it's just this maturity of the collection systems, the availability of that data. I mean, I remember seeing Maxar 3D data on the news on CNN, and they filmed the convoys from Russia getting all kind of stuck, remember, to the north of Ukraine. And yeah, so the fact that that data was available on the news even a couple of years ago shows you how far we've come. The US Army has invested a couple $100 million in Maxar along the terrain. And I believe that 3D data is here. There are technologies, Gaussian splatting. It's a new technique for rendering high fidelity 3D data from a point cloud effectively. And it just creates photorealistic 3D graphics at the altitude where the photographs were taken. And as simulation professionals, we need to leverage that data and deliver better products to our customers.
Great. Pete said geospatial specialists are not needed. If you are a geospatial specialist and you're not needed, come talk to me.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say it. One of the issues we face is that there are a lot of GIS professionals, and we're seeing some organizations not adopt the new technology because they still need to employ these GIS professionals. But the fact is that we are making it easier and quicker. In fact, we just saw in the BSI presentation, they're doing something similar with MACE using Unity. So we're seeing this maturity, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, no. I'd like to look at another area now, AI. And I know Chief Product Officer in your role there, Pete, in Bohemia, you've rebuilt the AI in our VBS4 product from scratch. What was the reason behind all that?
So I didn't rebuild it. I'm far too dumb. But we used to have game AI that we inherited from the legacy computer game upon which VBS was based, and it had many limitations. What we saw was most VBS users were using human role players to play the part of Op4 because the administrators who were creating the training wanted very specific outcomes. You wanted to be in full control of what the Op4 were doing in order to maximize the training benefit. And we have to remember that the VBS is a collective training tool. Soldiers go into the battle simulation center, the platoon or company or battalion commander has a very specific training kind of desired outcome in mind. And everything the administrator is doing is building toward that outcome. And so you couldn't have artificial intelligence kind of acting randomly or in a gaming way, right? Computer game AI is designed to fool the player, designed to act in a certain way to maximize entertainment value. Clearly, soldiers were not there to entertain them. So we realized quite some years ago, actually, that we needed to completely change the way artificial intelligence works in our tactical training game to not fight the administrator, to make it easy for the administrator to control the AI, to provide a set of behaviors that made sense out of the box. And we've basically done that now. So we're in an exciting time because VBS4 24.1, which was just released, the legacy AI is turned off and only the new AI is available. So it's a huge step. It's just provided a baseline for all of our VBS customers, but it's an important step. And so my hope is that administrators can begin to rely on the AI to meet specific training outcomes.
Are there any other advantages apart from the fact that the AI isn't random?
Yeah, I mean, we believe that this AI model that we're built can be used for experimentation as well. So we would encourage developers, we'd encourage universities to have a look at the way we've built this AI. It is based on behavior trees. It does not use machine learning, and we've been criticized for that. We've actually lost some contracts in the US because of that. But machine learning, it's really hard to understand why the AI is making decisions. Behavior trees, we know what's going on in the AI brain at all times. We always are aware of that. And behavior trees can be customized and understood by humans.
I guess they then follow doctrine as opposed to machine learning went.
Exactly. I think in time, I'm talking about this in my panel presentation, in time, I think AI will get there, but for the next 5, 10, maybe 15 years, we do need to rely on what works.
What advances do you see? What next steps in AI do you see in the next few years?
So within VBS, it's about building out behavior sets that make sense. We'll do that. We'll do generic behavior sets for Blue4 and Op4 that can then be customized and will no doubt become classified as parameters are added and modifications made by our users. So I think the behavior tree-based AI we have now is going to be with us for at least a decade. The research into machine learning for military tactical AI needs a lot more investment, to be honest. So, DARPA just established, I think it's called AI Forward, an initiative to start to do research into this. Up until now, research into machine learning tactical AI, it's been scattershot. I saw that ONR has let some contracts to various US companies, but I mean, if you look at the investment in ChatGPT, generative AI, I mean, it's massive. And I think in the military, there's a tendency to kind of underestimate how much money it costs to build that, intelligent Op4 adversary that we need, as well as that intelligent kind of AI advisor that sits on the shoulder of every commander. So yeah, I mean, I really do hope that we get serious and invest properly in this area.
That is an interesting point, because the large language model type AI that I've seen on other conferences are all to do with stuff that in a way is fairly easy. It's to do with streamlining processes. and making things much easier to work, not the complexity of behaviors on the battlefield, which are much more complicated than all of that. So I think that's a really good point, that it will need a lot of investment on that.
Yeah, generative AI, I mean, yes, it looks like magic, but it's really AI kind of guessing the next word or guessing the next pixel. And it's been trained on data from the internet, huge amount of data, and then carefully curated by humans. Now, the analogy to that, or in the military, would be, let's imagine we take all of the simulation data that's been run by the US Army and VBS for the last 10 years. Now, the first problem is that data wasn't captured. Of course. Right. And I do think that there'll be a bunch of military organizations kicking themselves because they didn't capture that data in order to train AI. I think we need to get smarter about that ASAP, because without a ton of data about how humans make decisions, you can't train the AI.
Yeah.
And that's a big factor right now.
Well, it's interesting because it just shows again that technology is not the only solution. The solution is process and the way people work and culture and things like that to bring everything together in one place. Talking about bringing everything back together in one place, the answer 2 years ago that everyone was thinking of was putting everything on the cloud. The cloud would be big advantages, like you could have millions of players, you could have millions of entities. I'd like to dig into that a little bit more. Thinking back to a point that I know you've made a few times, is that not every, and I'm going to be very kind when I say this, not every base has a strong broadband connection. So how do you see the cloud now for kind of massive number of players?
So the demand hasn't gone away. So US Army STE, which was very much the most ambitious vision, I believe, in military simulation anywhere, was to provide this cloud-enabled, scalable simulation, a massive multiplayer game for training. And that vision hasn't gone away, but what's happened is that there was so much kind of legacy capability that had to be rolled in, that the team working on STE, of which we were a part, has been really focused on just making sure that capability doesn't drop, right? Yeah. So all of this ambition to support cloud scalability kind of hasn't gone away. There's just been higher priorities. Now, so we see this demand for an entire battalion of humans, an entire brigade of humans, to do a complete training exercise in simulation of all they do. So that demand hasn't gone away. It's still that's a need that hasn't been solved. We still see the need for mega city simulation. Today there is no simulation platform where I can have a living, breathing city. I can't build Delhi in simulation and have my convoy kind of move through the streets of Delhi, and then there's an explosion, and all of a sudden we're trying to get through this incredibly populated, massive, scared civilians. You just can't simulate that right now. You might be able to build a constructive simulation to simulate it. So there are these huge gaps, and so the cloud and cloud scalability, which is very real. That technology is there, ready to be taken advantage of. I think we'll get there. So I still have faith. We at Bohemia are building VBS workers. We're building that capability to scale. There is a high.
Can you say what VBS worker is?
Yeah, so a VBS worker is a small, headless, containerized instance of VBS that can basically be scaled on the cloud. You can run it once, one of them, or you can run 100 of them, which allows you to simulate large numbers of entities, military or civilian, on the cloud, and they all kind of communicate. So that's a very interesting concept. And Tess just distracted me with my train of thought. But
New Delhi and lots of people.
Exactly. So yes. So we are still building out capability to go to achieve it, and I think militaries absolutely need it. So I'm still bullish. I'm still optimistic that cloud scalability will be leveraged by military simulation in the near future. Now, to get back to your point about broadband not existing at the sim centers, that's true. And so the way STE in the US was architected was that the point of need system is standalone. And the cloud can be a rack of computers, or it can be Amazon or Azure, and you need to architect it that way from the ground up. The last point I'll make is that architectures, there's been a little bit of a push to move away from HLA, and I've been counselling against that. we have decades of work going into HLA, the data models. We have, agreement. We have a lot of very smart people who are involved in that. To throw that away and just to move to a completely new cloud architecture, we're going to do that, but do that very carefully. So exactly. So there's a lot of work that has to be done to have a look at our HLA architectures. How can they transition to the cloud? How can they orchestrate? So there's a lot of work to be done.
Some stuff I know that Bohemia is doing in terms of scalability, in terms of number of entities. So you're not waiting for the cloud to happen. There's this UCrowd integration. Maybe you could say a little bit about that and the universal component system.
Yeah. So within VBS, we've just integrated with UCrowds, which provides tens of thousands of AI civilian entities. They've been used for doing modeling of stadium evacuations, and so we made some modifications to VBS to be able to support the 10,000, 20,000 entities running at high frame rates. So we've got that in. We're just going to fine tune the integration, hoping to have a version out for 24.1 in the next month or two. And so, that is a cloud scalable crowd simulation. But what's exciting about that is you don't need a cloud at all. Even on one single PC, it's incredibly efficient. So we are all about integrating with these third-party technologies just to accelerate the number of training use cases that we support. So we're excited about that, and we're offering a trial license of that to our customers in the future.
Cool. So Pete, thank you for a very interesting scorecard, if you like, about all of these things and how far we come. Can I put you on the spot a little bit? Pete didn't know I was going to ask this. So when we talked 2 years about OWT, STEs, SSEs, and so on, would you be brave enough to give kind of out of 10 or out of 100? How far have we come, do you think? And how far will we come in the next 2 years?
Yeah, very tough question. I mean, so we're definitely closest to US Army STE. So I am. You could probably answer yourself for SSE, but I can say that we are about halfway. So the work that has happened to build a cloud-enabled architecture, port legacy simulation to that architecture. So in the US Army context, that's CCTT and AVCAD, has been exceptional, and the feedback from the operators has been really, really good. It's the scalability piece that still needs a lot of work. But I think that as especially US Army STE moves toward production, what is going to be released in a year or two will be a huge step forward from the legacy simulation systems. So in the US context, which I'm the most familiar with, I would say we're doing fairly well. I don't want to mix a score out of 10. Maybe you can speak to SSE.
Well, I'm going to use as an example of an SSE a program called Project Odyssey, which you can look at on the internet by BAE Systems. And I would say the ambition is very large. The achievement so far in 2 years is amazing. So I probably give it, in terms of where they are, where they want to be. I understand how difficult the question is now. I would say they're probably about 6, but they know where they're going. And I reckon in another year they'll be up to about 8 or 9. I'll think on that. Okay, well, thank you, Pete. That was Pete's insights into technology scorecard were a lot more interesting than my convoluted first draft title. So with that, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at DSET. Pete, I'm sure will be just thinking about what he's going to say at tomorrow's keynote speech. And I'm going to hand over to hostess with most days.
Yes, like we thought we'd just come down and show everyone that there's shenanigans going on behind the scenes, and that actually just in a room down the corridor from us as well. So we thought we'd come here to do the final wrap up with you guys. So thanks again for being our sponsors this year. You've been with us since year 1 for year 9. It's our 10th anniversary next year. We've had a huge surge of registrations today. I'm going to put that down to you talking just now.
Naturally.
And everybody else online. So it's been fantastic already today. So thank you so much. We're really looking forward tomorrow to welcoming you all in person. Those of you that can't be with us online in person, please do keep engaging online. There's lots of people on the platform. There's over 1,000 of you now. And You'll be there all week. There's lots to see and do. And again, we have got prizes for people who engage the most with the virtual booths. That's all good. All right. So thanks very much to everybody else. If you've got any other Q&A for Pete and Rosmat, thanks for those that are already in there. We'll get those answered today. And any more, you can go visit Bohemia the rest of the week.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. And thanks to Abby in the ops room. Give her a wave. And we'll see you tomorrow.